A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
Five bells. Stand by all stations.
Attention, all districts. A 5-alarm fire. 5 bells. Move in immediately.
That's it. Let's roll. Let's go. Firefighters. Presenting Firefighters, the true-to-life story of our unsung heroes who stand ready to ride by day or night against our most murderous enemy, the demon of fire. In just a minute, we'll join Jimmy and Trudy Collins in the old Wilcox mansion where they've gone to collect some articles for the Firefighters Brigade antique sale. It is growing dark in the eerie old house, and Trudy's courage is fast disappearing. Reminded of the rumor that the old place is haunted and frightened by the strange old Mrs. Wilcox, she wants to flee for home. But Jimmy, who's a little braver, is trying to get her to stay. Now, before we join them in the musty old living room of the mansion, here's something you ought to hear. Let's go, firefighters. Let's go to the old Wilcox mansion where Jimmy and Trudy have gone to ask old Mrs. Wilcox for some articles for the firefighters' sale. Standing alone in the shadowy old living room with Mrs. Wilcox up in the attic, Trudy, for one, is ready to give up the whole project, especially when she remembers the frightening stories about the old house.
But what if it really is haunted, Jimmy?
Well, there's no such thing as haunted houses, I think.
Well, what about the stories they tell? About folks hearing screams late at night and seeing things running across the yard.
Well, it's just her imagination, I hope. Oh, gee, Mrs. Wilcox is taking an awful long time up in the attic.
Yeah.
I wish she'd come down.
Me too. I don't want... Oh, Jimmy, what's that?
Why, that's nothing. It's only an old clock. See? Oh, there it is in the corner.
I don't like this place, Jimmy. I want to go home.
Oh, no. Now, take it easy. There's nothing to be afraid of.
No? Why are you looking so funny?
Funny? Who's looking funny? I'm just watching to see if Mrs. Wilcox is coming down the stairs.
She's been so long, and it's getting dark. Mom will be worried. I want to go home.
Oh,
Jimmy!
Hey, it's Mrs. Wilcox.
Jimmy! Trudy! Come up to the attic. I have something for you.
She wants us to go up to the attic with her.
Oh, Jimmy, I don't want to. I want to go home.
Jimmy? Trudy? Are you still down there?
Yes, Mrs. Wilcox. We're still here. Come on, Trudy, we better go up.
Why don't you go? I'll stay here.
Well, all right, somebody's got to go. I'm coming, Mrs. Wilcox. Stay right here now, Trudy.
Oh, Jimmy.
What's the matter now?
I forgot. When you go, I'll be here alone. I'll come with you.
Well, gee, make up your mind. Come on, now follow me up the stairs.
All right.
Oh, where are you, Mrs. Wilcox?
Way up on the 3rd floor. Just follow the winding stairs.
Oh, gee. It's dark and scary. Why doesn't she turn on some lights, I wonder?
Saving electricity, probably. She's very economical, I hear.
Now, that's it. Now, right up this way. Be careful of those last stairs. They're very narrow.
Oh, gee, it's quite a climb, and it's so dark. Couldn't you maybe turn on a light, Mrs. Wilcox?
Oh, no electricity up this part of the house. That's why I use this oil lamp. Now, that's it. Now, turn the landing, and you're up.
Sure is an awful big house.
What a big attic.
Yes, been the storeroom for our family for over 100 years. Boxes and trunks and furniture, all the cast-offs of folks that have been dead for more years than I can remember.
Sure is a lot of stuff here, all right.
I'm afraid I must apologize for the dust and the cobwebs that haven't been up here in 10 years, it must be. Now, come, we'll see what we can find for this. What's the matter?
The dust gets in my nose.
Dust? Well, cover your nose with a handkerchief. That'll fix it. I must have the place cleaned out one of these days.
It would probably be a good idea. Looks like quite a fire hazard the way it is. And with that oil
Fire, you say? I've lived in this house for 78 years, and there's never been a fire. What do you mean, talking about fire?
I only said that with an attic full of old stuff and with all this dust and dirt around, it would be an easy place for fire to start.
You stop talking about fires, young man. I detest fires. Never had one in this house. And there's not going to be any, as long as I'm careful. That's one thing I always am. I'm careful. Now, I'll just set this lamp down by the closet away from everything. And we'll look for something for the sale. What's that?
Trudy, what's the matter?
Something black came at me. It's
Something black.
Oh, there it is again. Look, Jimmy.
Oh, that's nothing, child. It's just a bat.
Oh.
He's harmless.
He is? Oh, I don't think I like that.
Well, never mind. He's gone back to his nest under the eaves.
That's all right, Trudy. He's gone.
Now, let me look into this closet. Oh, my, the memories these old things bring back. My little silk parasol. I'll just shake it out and look at it. Dust over everything. Oh, I remember the day I first got this parasol. It was spring. I was just your age. Mama bought it for me at the big store on the square, and we took a long walk.
While Mrs. Wilcox holds the children spellbound in the old attic with their memories, and it grows later and later, Mrs. Collins begins to be uneasy about the absence of the children. She finally phones the Wilcox mansion. Well, when Mrs. Collins gets no answer, she becomes alarmed. There's no way of knowing that Mrs. Wilcox, Jimmy, and Trudy are up in the attic where they can't hear the phone. Really worried, she calls Tim, who is on night duty at the rescue service station, where Chief Cody has just dropped in for a chat with the rookie fireman.
Well, Hooksy, still as keen about fire rescue as ever?
Oh, you bet, Chief. There's a thrill a day in this, too. Excuse me, Chief.
Sure.
Fire rescue? Yes? Oh, hello, Mom. What's up? Yes'm? Yeah, well, how long ago? Oh, well, I wouldn't worry yet. Uh-huh. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, sure, Mom, I'll do it. Yeah, now don't worry about him. Right. Yeah, bye, Mom.
What's the trouble, Tim? Anything wrong with the family?
No, sir. Mom's just worried because Jimmy and Trudy aren't home yet. They went up to the Wilcox mansion to collect some things for the sale. Yeah, she called there, and she got no answer. I told her I'd run up there in a few minutes if they didn't show up.
Oh, probably on the way home now. You know, they ought to get some prizes up at old Lady Wilcox's. That place must be 100 years old.
Yes, sir. They're all pepped up about this antique sale. Funny, though, about Mom not getting an answer when she phoned. I wonder if anything could be wrong.
Back at the old mansion, Mrs. Wilcox has finally found 2 articles to give Jimmy and Trudy for the antique sale. Brushing the year's accumulation of dust from them, she says,
Dust? Oh, my. There. That's better. I'm sure now these'll do. Pearl inlay snuff box that was my mother's. And this lovely china cup and saucer. Do you like them?
Oh, they're beautiful, Mrs. Wilcox.
Gee, thanks, Mrs. Wilcox. They'll help us sell a lot.
Good. Now, you run long before your mother begins to worry.
It is kind of late. Come on, Trudy.
I'm ready.
Can you find your way down alone? I think I'll stay up in the attic a while and sort out some old things. It's been so long since...
Oh, we can find the way down, all right.
All right.
Thanks a million, Mrs. Wilcox, and goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Come on, Jimmy.
Jimmy and Trudy lose no time leaving the musty, dust-laden attic and getting away from the old mansion. As they start down the drive for the street, they're excitedly talking.
Oh, I'm glad to get away from there. Wasn't it spooky up in that old attic?
Yeah, sort of. I'll bet Mom wonders where we are. It's so late.
These are awfully nice old things she gave us.
Yeah, I bet they'll bring a lot of money at the sale.
Jimmy, did you hear that?
Well, what did you say, Trudy?
A scream from the haunted house.
Oh, gosh, don't start that again, sis. It was bad enough while we... Say, somebody up there is screaming at that.
Well, let's run, Jimmy. I'm scared. I told you the house was haunted.
Oh, but that's no ghost. It must be Mrs. Wilcox.
No.
What did I tell you? There she is, leaning out of the attic window.
Oh, Jimmy, did you hear what she said?
I didn't have to. Look, you can see the flames in back of her.
Oh.
Trudy, Mrs. Wilcox is alone up there in that attic, and it's on fire.
Well, it looks like Jimmy's and Trudy's experience with the old Wilcox mansion isn't over yet. Just as they're getting away from the old house, they discover fire curling out of the attic window. Now, to learn what Jimmy and Trudy do, be sure to listen to the next thrilling true-to-life episode of The Firefighters. Now, in just a moment, Chief Bob Cody will tell all of you boys and girls how you can help the firefighters right in your own hometown. But first, let's listen to this message. Now, Chief Bob Cody with a special notice for the Firefighters Brigade. Chief Cody.
Hello, boys and girls. This is Chief Cody with a piece of good advice about the care of electrical wiring in your home. Now, I've mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Don't string electric wires under rugs, over hooks, or in places where wear may expose the bare wire. Short circuits cause 1 out of every 10 fires in the home. So check up on the wiring in your home, won't you? Be sure it's safe, so you and your family will be safe from fire. Well, that's all for now. You'll be hearing from me again soon.
Fire Chief Cody and the young rookie fireman Tim Collins will be back on the same station the next time you hear... That's it. Let's go! Let's go! Firefighters!
And its 98,000 dealers bring you Mr. Frank Lovejoy in tonight's presentation of Suspense.
Tonight, Autolite presents a tale about a man who felt he was bigger and more important than anything else in the world and lost his life trying to prove it. The story is called The Storm. Our star, Mr. Frank Lovejoy. No one really knows how it begins. The birth is invisible, attended only by seabirds that glide gracefully over the warm Caribbean Sea. In the cool upper air, a gull hovers, then dips low toward a single unwary shrimp. Suddenly the bird falters. Its wings beat awkwardly against the sudden turbulence at the edge of a great unseen tower of strange, warm air. 300 miles around, the cool outer wind circles, then sweeps in. This is the meeting place. 300 miles of wind circle a tower of weak, warm air. Conditions favorable. And the thing is born.
Sure, I knew there was a storm coming. I could see it in Joyce's eyes. The last year and a half, she changed. Why? Women. Most of them don't know when they're well off. After all, we've been through getting to be the top dance team in the country. You'd think she'd try to relax and enjoy it. We were big now. $2,000 a week and a percentage. Nothing but the best places, booked when and where we liked. We just finished in Miami. We want to lie around for a month when the weather turned funny. Nothing really noticeable, just something in the air. That's when I got the phone call from Al Morgan.
Mr. Larry Weston?
This is him.
This is a long-distance operator, sir. We have a call from Sea Beach. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Larry?
Yeah, who's this?
Al Morgan.
Oh, sure, Al. Long time no see.
Yeah, how's Joy?
Good. How's that new hotel of yours?
Nice business, Larry. Al got a nice business for a new place. Look, I know I should go through your agent on...
No. Skip him. What's on your mind?
It's the tag end of the season here at Sea Beach, but we still got a good crowd. Variety says you and Joyce got a month between dates and...
Well, look, Al, we're not exactly hard up for work.
Oh, I know, Larry. It's just that I'd like to keep this crowd. You'd hold him here, you and Joyce, a real sock finish on the season. Just for a week, Larry? You know, for an old friend?
Well, we don't work for peanuts anymore, Al. It'll have to be 3,000 and 20%.
Well, that's pretty steep, but I guess I can make it.
Okay, wire the deal to my agent. How's the weather there?
The weather? Oh, great. Best on the Gulf Coast.
Kind of funny here in Miami. There's something in the air.
Well, that's Miami. When can you start? Today?
Yeah, I guess so. We'll drive down.
I sure appreciate this, Larry. Honest.
Yeah, so long, Al. Just tell your crowd we're on the way.
Thanks.
What?
I said thanks for including me in.
That's supposed to be some kind of a crack, Joyce.
There was a time when you used to at least ask me about a date. Now I'm just part of the act.
Look, will you get off my back? Al Morgan's new place at Sea Beach. Al knew us when. Don't you want to do a favor for an old friend?
Sure, I can do a favor for an old friend. And without jacking the price 1,000.
Cut it out, will you? It's business. We're big business now. That's why Al wants us, and that's why he'll pay us $3,000. That's so hard to take?
Sure, it's fine. But we're all business now. Everything's happened so fast for us, we've lost being man and wife. I like being man and wife, Larry. Not just a dance partner.
Look, it's the air in Miami. That's what's bothering you. Come on, let's pack.
High over Miami, clouds gather and move. Far to the south, the great cone of wind spins strongly now. Feeling adolescent strength, it starts moving across the sea. It feels for direction and curves northward. The ocean is patterned with great heaping swells racing before it. On the Gulf Coast beaches, the tide still rises normally. Then a wave, larger than usual, crashes unevenly across the sand.
This Sea Beach looks like quite a layout. A lot of money, a lot of class.
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
Oh, come on, snap out of it, will you? Hey, there's Al's Hotel. Look at that sign. The Westons, big as you can make it.
Sure. We're big.
Look, don't start anything. We're here for a week, and the weather is nice. Try to get along, will you?
Hi, Larry! Joyce!
Hey, Al! Someplace you got.
All right, on the beach. Nothing but the best. Oh, how are you, Joyce? It's been a long time.
Hi, Al. It's really good to see you.
Come on. Yeah, you got one of the best suites in the place. Hey, boy, get these bags into 215, will you?
Looks like a real nice place, Al.
Strictly resort, Larry. Entertainment and the weather. I got my entertainment, and if the weather stays just right, why...
Hey, that's some surf.
Yeah, you started yesterday. Paper says big storm down in the Gulf somewhere. They think it's moving this way. Scared off some of the guests, but when I got up that western sign, it stopped the checkouts cold.
So we're storm bait, huh?
Yeah, that's it. Nothing to worry about, though. Not a cloud in the sky, is there? If you believe the papers, you could die from worry.
Monsieur Morgan, if you please.
Oh, yeah, P.J. What can I do for you?
It is the food, monsieur. Toto, please, I am speaking.
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Weston, Monsieur P.J.
Hi.
The dancing westerns? Oh, an honor. I have never seen you perform, but everyone knows you are magnificent.
That's an awfully nice dog.
Merci, madame. I am sorry Colette and Madame Pompadour are not with me at the moment. They will meet you later, I hope.
Something about the food, P.J.?
Oh, the special diet for my dogs, monsieur. I am afraid I lose the cooperation of the kitchen again.
I'll take care of it.
Oh, merci. And now, au revoir until this evening. Viens, Toto. Viens.
Oh, he's cute.
Oh, you should see those dogs work. The four of them really put on a show.
A dog act?
Sure, they're good.
Oh, wait a minute, Al. That just doesn't go.
What do you mean, Larry?
Well, I mean, Al didn't tell me he was running a circus, that's all.
Look, Larry, P.J.'s got a good actor. He wouldn't be here.
That's swell. But we don't work with dog acts.
Larry!
It's simple, Joyce. If Al can hold his crowd with a dog act, fine. He doesn't need us.
But he's got a contract. What can I do?
Larry, you're not
Can you get the
serious.
boy to put the bags back in the car, Al? Come on, Joyce. Let's go.
No, wait. I've already got your name up out there. Okay. Larry, I'll buy up today's contract.
Fine. fine. Now, you understand, don't you, Al? I mean, well, a dog act.
Yeah, sure. I understand.
Swell. Then we better get ourselves unpacked.
You go ahead.
Okay.
Look, Al. That was Larry talking, not me.
Yeah, I know, honey. He's changed, hasn't he?
Yeah, we're a big team now. I guess that's it. He's got to prove it all the time. I don't know exactly what to do.
He's really a nice guy, Joyce. It'll wear off.
Thanks. I hope you're right.
Over the Gulf Coast shore, the sun shines warm on the slow, continuous beat of the heavy storm surf. The sky remains clear until late afternoon. Then a slight yellowish haze, the first land warning, creeps into the darkening blue. The barometer is measured, and from Florida to Texas, red and black hurricane flags unfold in an oddly soft breeze. Precautionary. Nothing definite yet. The sunset is brilliant red, and later there's a halo around the moon.
Thank you very much, but that was our last encore, I'm afraid. Regardless of what the newspapers and radios have been saying about the weather, we'll be here tomorrow night with a very special performance.
You like us?
Sure. You're a little sloppy tonight, honey. You can stand some rehearsal.
Oh, swell, you two. You are great. And look around, not an empty seat in the place.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was a good crowd. Only Joyce wasn't.
Al, what's the real dope on this storm?
Oh, who knows? The hurricane flags are up, but none of the natives around here are getting excited. Few places boarded up and nobody's leaving. Business as usual.
Hey, you know, it might be fun.
What?
Well, to see if we could hold a crowd here in a hurricane.
You're kidding.
Us against a hurricane. I bet we could.
It'd be a good act, Larry, but I hope you don't get the chance.
Oh, Mr. Weston. Mr. Weston, I do hope you don't think I'm forward, but I did so admire you and your wife out there on the floor. I've seen a lot of dancing, but honestly...
Well, thank you.
I know you dance for a living, but could you... Would you please show me that back stair?
Well, you'll have to ask my wife.
Oh, please, Miss Weston, I'll die happy.
Of course. Go right ahead.
Well, there isn't much for a girl to learn. It's really quite...
Have a drink, Joyce?
No, I don't think so, thanks.
I know he was kidding, but for a minute I thought Larry meant that about the hurricane.
Low racing clouds rush tirelessly by. More rain, more gusts of wind. The clouds grow heavier in the haze-filled sky.
Oh, come on, Joyce. Come on. Pick it up.
All right, Larry, all right.
Now, stop it. Look, it's 4 p.m. already. At 8 o'clock, we have an appointment downstairs doing a show. The rehearsal is for your benefit. What's the matter with you?
Oh, the fun's gone out of it, Larry. Look, we've got to talk this out.
Here it comes again. Listen, Joyce.
I've got to say it, Larry. I've got to tell you what I feel.
It's about the dog act?
It's not the dog act. It's you. It's all you. You say we, us, but you really mean you. I used to feel close when we danced, but you're such a big, important showstopper all by yourself, there's no room for me anymore.
If you're all through, we'll continue with the rehearsal.
Please, Larry, listen to me. I love you, but I don't know you anymore. The way you push people around, nothing means anything to you. Nothing is important except that big sign, the Western.
Well, sure it's important. The weather turns bad, people get scared, Al puts that sign up and they stay. Now, can it, Joyce? Can it before I get
You don't really need a wife anymore, do you, Larry? All you need is someone to dance with. That's what you really feel, isn't it?
All right, yes. I took you, I can take anybody. That dumb little blonde last night, as soon as we got out on the floor, I knew... Joyce, where do you think you're going?
I don't know, Larry. I just don't know.
Yeah.
Larry?
Yeah.
I just heard it on the radio. They think the center of this storm may hit somewhere near Sea Beach.
Oh?
Yeah, could be 100 miles either way. But some of the guests are kind of nervous. Hey, look, could you and Joyce come down and help me keep their minds off it?
Sure, Al. Sure. What's a little hurricane? Is that blonde I danced with last night around?
Oh, yeah. I saw her in the bar.
Have her meet me on the floor.
The sky-filling haze thickens. The barometer drops suddenly, and it can almost be felt. Then, seaward, on the edge of the horizon, a low gray curve appears. It climbs slowly, grows darker, then stands there, congealing its power into an ugly bluish-black mass. Then, steadied and deliberate, the great wind monster moves toward the land. The sky darkens, lowering ominously, and from horizon to shore, the sea boils white with rage. The rain is continuous now, falling harder and harder. Then, from the approaching edge of fury, the first flicking fingers gouge through the rain and touch land.
Over here, Larry.
Hello?
Oh, hi. What'd you say your name was, honey?
Betty Ann White. You want to see little old me?
I couldn't round up much of an orchestra.
That's okay. The piano's enough.
Well, where's Joyce?
She's around. Look, Betty Ann.
Well, I'll go find her.
Oh, it's the biggest thrill of my life to dance with you last night, Mr. West. Oh, it's really storming, isn't it?
You scared?
Me? No. I've been through storms before.
Come on. You know, you danced pretty good last night.
Huh?
How would you like to entertain the folks?
Huh? You mean you and me? In front of those people?
Sure. You like to dance?
That scares me. I just couldn't.
Why, sure you can. Come on. I'll make you look great.
The first winds churn up the beaches, whirl inland, shudder against walls, and wind past. Trees groan. The lighter branches crack and fly off. A board rattles on a flimsy wooden shack, tears loose and hurtles through the air. Preliminary winds pass, a pause, and then, bruising, tearing, whining, the thing steps to the land. The sea drags up with it, roaring in twisted, foaming agony, and falls like cannon shot on all it can reach. The rain no longer falls, but hammers, sideways with the force of bullets. The palm trees bend, almost sweep the ground. More stubborn trunks offer resistance, then suddenly wrench from their roots. The works of man tremble, shudder, and mighty man himself, caught in the open, is forced to return to all fours.
crazy, mister. How'd you get out there? I'm looking for my wife. You can't find her now. You're lucky you're still alive. She's out there. I've got to find her. Listen, I'm trying to help you. Somebody's taking care of her someplace, too. She's going to be all right now. Come on back inside. No, don't understand. There's only one thing you understand, mister. That's a hurricane. It cuts everything aside. Listen to me. I've got to find my wife. Gotta wait till the calm sets in. Calm? And the hurricane dies. We can get to the police station then. They'll know where to find your wife.
The wind screams at a 90, 100, 130 miles an hour. The light grows black, fingered with a weird electric glue. Rooftops crash in the streets. Broken power lines spit 10,000-volt electrocutions. Man sits in his trembling shelter, totters on the edge of security with hollow fear in his eyes. Then, suddenly, without warning, the calm. A weird, uneasy silence, surrounded by the force of hell.
Middle of the block there. That's the police station. How long does the calm last? Hard to tell. Hour, 15 minutes. Come on.
Over here, you two. Hurt? Need any first aid?
No. Listen, I gotta find my wife.
What's her name?
Weston, Joyce Weston.
Mrs. Joyce Weston? Mrs. Joyce Weston? Mrs. Weston. Sorry, buddy.
Joyce! It's Larry, Joyce. What about the fire station?
Could be. Red Cross is set up there.
Where is it?
Next block over, Jackson Street. Hey, buddy, you better stay here.
Her name is Weston. Joyce Weston.
I'm busy with the injured, mister. You'll have to look yourself.
Joyce. Joyce. Monsieur. Oh, Mr. Bidet.
My dogs, monsieur. Have you seen my dogs?
Look, I'm trying to find Joyce, my wife.
Oh, but my dogs, they broke away. I went after them.
Hey, will you listen to me?
My dogs.
Joyce.
My dogs.
Joyce. You all right?
Oh, I'm fine, Larry. I'm fine.
Come on.
Oh, wait, I've got to help
It'll
you.
keep. Come on.
Larry, wait a minute. The storm isn't over. This is just a car.
Yeah, I know. Why did you run out? Teach me a lesson?
What?
It was pretty small time, Joyce. You let me in a pretty
Wait a
bad
minute.
hole.
Where are we going?
Back to the hotel. They're waiting for us.
You're crazy. And I was crazy to kid myself that you actually came looking for me.
Look, Joyce, I'm not going to beg. I don't have to.
Oh, you're so big. The hurricane stopper, Larry Weston. And you believe it, don't you? You really believe it.
Now, don't get me sore. They're waiting for us at the hotel. Now, come on.
No, not us, Larry. They're waiting for you, the hurricane stopper.
Joyce.
I'm going back to the fire station. So long, Larry. You don't need it, but lots of love.
Okay. That's why I didn't give you the chance. You're small time. I made you. I'm the whole lot. I don't want to be big as a hurricane. I'm big. I'm big. I'm big.
The second wind struck, completing the infinite anger, then passed on over the lowlands to the hills, finally tearing its shrieking self apart. The sun shines once more on a whipped and torn earth. It is over, and those who lived through it stir humbly. Suspense, presented by Autolite. Tonight's star, Mr. Frank Lovejoy. Next week, a story based on fact and written by a master of suspense. An adaptation of the 19th century Bourne murder case called The Dead Alive. The author, Wilkie Collins. Our star, Mr. Herbert Marshall. That's next week on Suspense. Suspense is produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, with music composed by Lucian Morwick and conducted by Lud Gluskin. Portions of the program were transcribed. The Storm was written for Suspense by Richard Chandley. In tonight's story, Joan Banks was heard as Joyce. Featured in the cast were Sharon Douglas, Joseph Kearns, Rolf Sedan, Jerry Hausner, and Jim Nusser. Your narrator, Larry Thorne.
Frank Lovejoy appeared through the courtesy of Warner Brothers and can soon be seen in House of Wax, in 3-dimension and Warner Color.
And remember next week, Mr. Herbert Marshall in The Dead Alive.
This is the CBS Radio Network.
Arch Oboler's Plays. A Story in the Night.
Linda.
Yes, Carl?
I've been looking for you.
And I for you.
Look, Linda, this party, it's getting a little too much for me. It's a great night. How about a little walk on the beach?
All right. But quickly before someone changes my mind.
Get your wrap?
No, I'll let the moonlight keep me warm.
That is good.
Careful. Night air.
You know, I never could understand the hunters. They build this place here on the shore, and then, well, when they give a party, they seal the windows hermetically. Here, down this path. That breeze off the sea is good. Don't you think so?
Frankly, Carl, I didn't come out here for the air. I've been very anxious to talk to you. Very.
Oh, that's flattering.
It won't be when you hear why I want to talk to you. Carl, I've always liked you.
And I...
Liking you, I've tried to understand you as you are, but... Must you be so antisocial?
Antisocial? Me?
The Rensalls had a dinner party last night.
Oh, that. At the office, I couldn't break away.
The Carters were expecting you the night before last at the theater.
Linda, I'm a businessman.
Carl, you can't disappoint people continually and expect them to have any regard for you.
My friends know I'm a busy man.
You and I belong to a set that demands certain obligations from us.
I wonder if you know how pompous that sounds.
Pompous or not, it's the truth. You can't just ignore social obligations.
Well, I'm here, am I not? The ocean's rather calm, isn't it?
They were talking about you only last week at Page's.
Page's? Say, J.B. made a good thing out of International Motors last week. Must have cleaned up $250,000.
Someone mentioned your name, and this other person laughed and said, don't invite him unless you expect me to bring his stock ticker.
Idea.
I hear the same about you wherever I go, Carl. There isn't a man I know who spends as much time at work as you do.
Well, if that's what I want, why shouldn't I?
Carl, understand me. I appreciate the importance of money, but after all, you could find time for your friends. Why do you laugh?
I just remembered why I wanted to be alone with you.
Well?
I was going to lecture you.
What?
Yes, lecture, really, I was. I was going to tell you that you've been burning the candle socially at both ends. Or words to that effect.
Really?
Well, you are, you know. Bazaars and style shows and all that nonsense. But you took the offensive so quickly, I forgot what I wanted to say. And that reminds
You're remembering a great number of things, aren't you?
Yes. One of the things was to tell you that you're looking very lovely tonight.
The man's human.
You're irritated with me, aren't you?
I am. Carl, you could be an utterly charming man if you'd forget your stocks and bonds and debentures and all the rest of that for a while and start enjoying life.
Linda, now you've got me irritated. Just because my idea of living doesn't include a room full of jabbering idiots.
I think we'd better go back.
Now, wait a minute. Linda, I want you to... Oh, Linda, let's call a truce on this. After all, we're a couple of mature people. Let's act maturely and leave each other alone and enjoy the night. How about it?
You're hopeless. All right.
Good. We'll get off on safe subjects. The sea, the weather, the moon, June, the number of days to Christmas.
Exactly.
See, we start with the sea. Calm, isn't it?
Don't walk so fast, Carl, please.
Uh-oh, I forgot. Sand must be ruining your slippers.
No, beach is packed so hard. I'm quite all right. Just don't walk too fast.
Right. Fine place the hunters have here.
They do have successful parties.
Hunter bought this place right before 29. Tried to unload it all through the Depression. Couldn't even get enough to cover the land value.
Did you hear about Ivy's debut? Margaret naturally wanted to have it at the Claremont, but Tom insisted on their country place.
Poor Tom. Dropped plenty in that amalgamated merger. Amazing. A man of his experience not knowing that you can't disturb the capital of an investment in an organization.
Now, just a minute, Mr. Laughlin. If you're thinking of starting on capital investments again, I'd better remind you that this conversation is limited to, remember, June moon.
What moon?
Well, of all the inconsiderate clouds I have. Carl, what are you staring at?
I can't quite make it out. Do you see anything down there near the water's edge?
Why, yes. There is something there.
It's so dark.
Carl, it moved.
I saw.
Is it a dog?
I'm not sure.
Let's go closer.
Now, Linda, wait. Linda, come back.
Carl, come quickly.
What is it?
Look. Someone sitting in sand.
Well, who in the world?
Oh, drunk. Just someone who lost his way to the bar. Come on.
Now, Linda, wait.
Wait for what?
Well, I'd better see who it is and give him a hand.
All right, if you must play the good Samaritan, go ahead.
I say there, fella.
What in the world's the drunken fool doing? Digging for clams?
I'll have to get closer. I say there, old boy. You're going to get a little wet there when the tide comes in, aren't you?
Well, drunk and dumb.
Yes, you're right.
Let's go on.
No, wait, please.
But why?
The moon will be out in a moment. I want to see what he's doing. Hey, there. Now we'll see. Why, it's an old man.
Writing in the sand.
What are you doing here?
Guess he just won't talk.
How do you like that? Writing in the sand with the point of his finger.
Carl, I don't like this talk. Come away.
Well, Linda, what is it?
Nothing. Nothing at all. If this old man wants to sit here in the dark and stand, why let him. What does it concern us?
But what's he writing? I can't quite make out. Oh, the moon went under.
Carl, he's staying here?
I'm sorry. I want to see what the old man's writing. What are you writing, old man? Old man, don't you hear me talking to you?
Carl, you're being insufferable.
Linda, where's your curiosity? Deserted beach after midnight. An old man writing heaven knows what in the sand. Aren't you interested in knowing?
I'm not interested in maniacs. Who else but a psychopath would sit like that?
Linda, wait. Moon's coming through the clouds again. Now I'll see. You see it, too. He's writing names in the sand. Names of people.
Carl.
What is it?
His face.
What did you say?
Face. Did you see his face?
No, I didn't see it. Linda, what's the matter?
Face.
What about his face? Plastered clouds. Can't see. Oh, light again. There's nothing wrong with his face.
I thought...
Just an old man. Must be a gardener. Writing names in the sand.
I want to know who he is.
Well, now you're curious.
I want to know who he is, Carl.
And I'm certainly going to find out. Old man, we insist on knowing who you are. Do you hear me, old man? We insist. No attention. Must be deaf.
Clouds covering the moon. Sea so green. Carl, I'm cold. Let's go in.
Now, if that isn't like a woman. 1 minute you're curious, and the next minute you're cold. Moon's bright now. Look, you can see some of the names he's writing. John Berkeley, March 2nd, 1941. Well, how do you like that? He wiped the name out and he's writing another one.
George Ellison, March 2nd, 1942.
Wipe that one. Writing another.
Name after name.
But why? Old man, can you hear me? Why?
What did he say?
He's certainly not drunk. Eyes so bright, so intent on his work. And what work?
Carl, don't laugh.
Huh? What did you say?
He seems so busy.
Linda, what is there about this old man that disturbs you? I think he's funny.
Carl.
Dirty little unshaven old man, crouched over, writing names in the sand with the point of his finger. It's a serious career, isn't
Carl.
it? A career for one's old age. No overhead, no competition, no profit. Sit in the open air and write in the sands of time. Linda, I tell you, when I get too old for Wall Street, I think I'll join this old man.
Carl.
Huh?
C-A-R. Carl, look. Your name. He's writing your name.
Well, what do you know about...
C-A-R-L.
The old fraud can hear. Must have overheard you say my name.
Oh, your last name. He's writing that, too.
But that's impossible. He doesn't know.
He is writing it. L-A.
My name? He doesn't know who I...
U-G. How slowly he forms each letter.
Oh, does he know? Why does he write?
Oh, what is it?
I don't know. Feel sick.
Oh!
Don't let me fall.
Oh, man! Oh, man, help me! Please help!
He's finishing my
Oh,
name.
man, help me! My friend, he's ill.
Can't breathe.
God, I can't hold you. Help me! Someone help me! Oh, you're standing up again.
I feel all right.
Oh, what happened? How did you frighten me so?
My name in the sand. Where?
Sir. Came in and wiped it out before he'd finished.
Old man, why did you write my name? How did you know who I was? Answer me. Why did you write my name?
What difference does that make? You're ill. Let's get back to the house.
No, I feel fine. Sudden dizziness, but I'm all right now. I want to know how and why this old...
He's writing again.
Huh? L-I-N. Your name.
Yes.
D-A.
Carl, take me home.
Oh, wait. You can't possibly know your last name. J-E-F.
Oh, please. I just
Does know it. F-E-R. Writing so slowly as if he wasn't quite sure. But he does know it. Linda, how in the world do you imagine he knows? Linda.
Oh. Carl, help me.
Linda, what is it?
Hold me.
Yes, I'm holding you. Linda, in heaven's name, what is it?
My heart. Falling.
Linda!
Carl.
What?
Carl, why are you holding me?
You were ill fainting.
What are you talking about?
Are you joking?
What is there to joke about? Please let go of me.
All right.
My name. He was writing my name.
Yes.
Where is it? Sam. He's writing another name. Where's mine?
That wave must have washed it out before he finished.
I remember now. My heart. I couldn't see. Darkness. I was falling.
Yes, falling.
Your face so white. Carl, why?
As he wrote my name, I felt as if I were dying. And then you felt the same way, too, as he wrote your name, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Oh, cold it is here.
Cold.
He's still writing. The moon. Gone.
Oh, stay by me.
Yes.
Still there?
Darker.
In the darkness. I can't stand it anymore. Oh, man. Who are you? Who?
Linda, stay away from him. Don't.
No!
Linda! Linda, what is it? Linda.
No one.
What?
No one. Here.
But he was here. I saw him.
Oh, find him. Find him and talk to him. I've got to know. I've got to.
Old man. Old man. Where are you, old man?
There he is there. Far down the beach.
We've got to catch him. Come. Old man, wait. Old man.
Old man, wait. I beg you. Wait.
Old man, wait. I want to talk to you. No one.
I thought.
There he is.
Where?
Out the other way. At the edge of the water. Old man, wait. Old man.
Wait till he calls. Wait. Oh, why do you stop?
No one. I thought I saw you. But there's no one. If only the moon came out again.
Find him for me, Carl. Find him for me.
You blasted moon. Come out. Come out.
Oh, man.
Linda.
I heard.
Oh, Linda. Yes, of course I'm laughing. What we just heard, the wind. Our friends back at the house.
Friends?
Yes, friends. That wind and the sound of them talking, it cleared my head. My life has been like my business. Everything has had debits and credits. This that's been happening to us. My head's clear now, and I can think of it in practical terms.
Tell me.
We met an old man writing in the sand.
He wrote my name.
And mine, too. All that was real enough. Now then, how did he know our names?
Yes.
Simple enough. You and I are not unknown. He must have been an old gardener on the estate here. Yes, that's it. He'd heard of us. Then heard us call each other by our given names, and so he knew the rest of it.
But when he wrote our names, we...
Yes, I know. The dizziness. It's all quite easily explained. Back in the house, the air was bad. We came outside. Both of us nerves on edge. Too much fresh air. Dizziness followed. I talk about it anymore. Let's get back to the house.
Oh, yes, quickly.
Careful now, not so fast. You'll fall.
No, I'm all right. Faster, Carl. I want to get back.
A drink, that's what I need. A drink, or 2 or 3, a dozen.
So very dark.
Infernal clouds. Let's stay along the water's edge. Easier to walk.
Yes.
Fantasy of the night, that's all it was. We let our imaginations run away with us. Yes, imagine things that didn't exist.
Carl.
Why do you stop?
Carl.
Why are you pointing?
He's writing again. He's there, writing again.
Oh, man. Oh, man!
Go, don't leave me. Go, it's so dark. Go!
Gone again. Gone again.
Go, take me back to the house. Quickly, don't stand there. We'll run,
Wait. The moon. Shining down so strangely. Everything's so strange.
Strange.
Yes.
Carl. The edge of the water.
What?
Our names.
Oh.
Names. Our names in the sand. See them?
Yes.
There's a date. Written after my name.
And after mine.
I can't see. The date. Oh.
The wave's coming. Linda, come back.
No. I've got to see.
Linda!
I saw.
I did, too.
The date when I...
The dates when I...
Oh, no.
No, it isn't true. It isn't. It isn't. A date within the sand, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't. It doesn't. Does it, Linda?
I didn't think it would be so soon.
You believe?
Yes.
I do, too, somehow.
So soon.
No. No, I won't believe. I won't. I'm going to live for a long time. 50, 60 more years. My family, they lived long lives. My father, my grandfather. This can't be true.
Carl, don't be so afraid.
You're not?
I am. And yet, somehow it's wonderful.
Wonder?
Yes. Wonderful. What every person in the world wants to know. We know. You and I.
It'll be spring that year when I...
No. No, don't think about it that way. The wonder of it, Carl. Think of that.
I've never thought much of the wonder of things.
How good the air is. Like wine. I heard them call it that. I never believed the breath could be so wonderful.
If a man planned every minute that was left, how much he could do.
That's why I say it's wonderful, Carl. I know what I have left. I can plan the days, the hours, live each one because I know just how many of them I have. Carl, I'm almost happy now.
Happy?
Yes. Yes, why not? Now I'll do the things I wanted to. Yes, every one. Listen to them back there. I never really wanted that, Carl.
But you always...
Because that was the path my mother had gone. And the one she led me to. But all the time, the snobbery of money and those silly little family destinies. I wasn't happy because it really wasn't what I wanted. I knew that, but I went on because there was a tomorrow. I said to myself, tomorrow, some new tomorrow, I'll start the life I want. I didn't know. Now I know my tomorrows, Carl. I've got to start now. So I will. And so I'm happy.
What?
Child, Carl. Yes, I want a child. There, I've said what I never thought to say. How I used to laugh at people with their children. Such clever, brittle talk. All the time my heart was in my eyes. Child. Listen. On the wind.
Yes.
Music of the night call. Look up. The stars are singing. They know I'm free. For a little while I'm free. And you, Carl, what will you do?
What will I do?
Yes. What will you do tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, I'll go back to my business, of course. My business. No.
You're holding me.
Yes. Linda, you and I. We've got to be together.
Oh.
You're right. There can be happiness in it. For these days and months we're free. The world. We'll climb up to those singing stars of yours. When I was a boy, I always thought I'd do that. Travel. Tomorrow. There'd always be a tomorrow for me. Yes, I was immortal. I thought that, really. Most of us do, don't we? Everybody else in the world would live their lives and die, but I, always inside myself, I thought I'd live forever. So I climbed into a cage and stayed there.
You're holding me so close.
You and I, Linda. Together. Free. Until that day. Say it. Say it.
Oh, my dear. Why did it take death to teach us how to live?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Arch Oboler. In tonight's play, Mirage, it was our pleasure to have with us Nan Sunderland, known to all of us also as Mrs. Walter Houston, and Edmund McDonald, who is soon to be seen in the Joseph Pasternak production of Destry Rides Again, a new Universal picture. Next week, 3 short plays of Men and Their Ways. Hometown, The Circle, and State Executioner, featuring Ray Collins.
Arch Oboler's plays. A story in the night. Art Oboler's plays are presentations of the National Broadcasting Company and are heard in Canada through the facilities of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Tonight's play came to you from Hollywood's Radio City. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
And now for the Whistler's strange story, The Secret of Chalk Point.
Chalk Point is a tiny strip of land that extends into the Pacific. And at Land's End stands Yeager House, a large and gloomy old structure built at the turn of the century. Barely visible now in the swirling mist, the heavy fog that clings to the coast of Northern California. And in that fog, strolling casually along the beach, Kay Fallon, young and attractive, a polo coat wrapped tightly around her, shutting out the chill of the evening. And suddenly she stops, peers ahead into the gray shadows. A man. Yes, the figure of a man walking in from the sea, moving through the fog toward you, Kay, staggering now and falling on the beach.
What's wrong? Are you hurt?
The ship went down.
A shipwreck?
Yes. All hands lost.
When did it happen? Where?
Up the coast. Fog. We hit the rocks. Out there.
Here. Let me help you.
I'm tired. Been in the water for hours. Seemed like years.
What ship were you on?
Schooner. Star of Shanghai. My ship. She's gone. All hands gone.
Now, easy.
My fault. All my fault.
Here. Can you walk?
I think so. Take me to the house, please.
The house?
My house. Up there in the point.
Your house?
I've got to get back. Get back. Home.
You're puzzled for a moment, aren't you, Kay? By the strange young man who calls Yeager House his home. You've been employed by the owner, Mrs. Yeager, as her secretary companion for over a year now. And you've never seen him there before, nor has Mrs. Yeager ever mentioned him. He's confused, isn't he, Kay? Yes, that's it. The shock of the wreck, the terrible experience he's been through. And so you help him along the beach into the house. You leave him sitting in a chair by the fireplace in the study, and then hurry down the path to the caretaker's cottage.
Dave!
Miss Kay, what's wrong?
There's been a shipwreck. I found one of the survivors down on the beach a few minutes ago. I need your help.
Of course, Miss Kay.
Some clothes. And then you'd better get a doctor. Notify the authorities.
Sure thing. You'll find some clothes in the closet. I'll get the car out, fetch Doc Henderson.
And please, hurry.
When did this happen?
Well, I don't know for certain. The man seemed dazed. He did say it was his ship, a schooner, the Star of Shanghai.
The Star of...
What's the matter?
You sure he said Star of Shanghai?
Yes, of course.
But, Miss Kay...
What is it, Dave? What's the matter?
That was the name of Captain Yeager's ship, Miss Kay. The Star of Shanghai. A schooner. She went down 25 years ago. All hands lost.
All hands lost?
Hit the rocks. There was a low fog.
But, Dave,
Yes, miss.
Nothing. You'd better hurry for the doctor.
Back inside the house a few moments later, you stop in the entry hall. Stare at the oil painting on the wall. A painting of a three-masted schooner, Captain Yeager's ship, the Star of Shanghai. An uneasy feeling begins to creep over you, doesn't it, Kay? Yes. And then suddenly you're aware of a buzzer ringing close by. It's Mrs. Yeager. She wants you, Kay. You hurry upstairs to her room. You find her, as usual, propped up in bed, the manuscript resting in her lap.
I've been ringing for you for quite some time, my dear.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Yeager.
Oh, of course you've been out for your walk.
Yes. Yes, I was.
I forgot. I wanted to tell you I've just finished reading your manuscript, my dear. Oh, I like it very much, very much.
Thank you.
Have you heard from the publishers about it?
No. I've written to them, but they haven't answered yet.
Oh, I'm certain they'll accept it, Kay. It's quite good, really. Quite good. However, I do have a few suggestions. That is, if you don't mind a meddling old woman's advice.
No, of course not, Mrs. Yeager.
Well, we can talk about it in the morning. I feel rather tired now. Very tired.
In the morning, then.
If you'll be kind enough to bring me my hot milk now.
Right away, Mrs. Yeager.
Kay?
Yes?
Is something wrong?
Why, no.
You seem disturbed.
No, it's nothing, really.
There is something on your mind.
Well, in a way.
Oh, it's the novel, dear. You're anxious about it, aren't you?
Yes, the novel.
Oh, it'll work out, my dear. I know it will.
Mrs. Yeager, your husband, his ship was lost at sea some 25 years ago.
That's right. On a night very much like this one, Kay. Strange that you should ask about it now.
Oh?
For some reason, he's been in my thoughts all evening. It's the fog, I suppose, the horns and all.
Where was the ship lost?
Not far from here, up the coast. My life ended that night, my dear. I was very much in love with my husband.
Yes, I know.
He was such a handsome man. Tall, broad-shouldered, bronzed by the sun. Have you never seen a photograph of him, my dear?
No. I never have.
The album there. Hand it to me, will you?
Here you are, Mrs. Yeager.
Thank you, dear. Let's see. Oh, here. Here. The captain. This photograph was taken shortly after we were married. I insisted he sit for it. He hated to have his photograph taken, but I won out. Look, Kay, wasn't he handsome?
You take the album, and your hand begins to tremble as you stare at the faded photograph. You can't believe what you see, can you, Kay? The man in the photograph is the image of the man you found on the beach just a few minutes ago.
Why, what's the matter, my dear?
Nothing. Nothing at all, Mrs. Yeager.
It was a shock, wasn't it, Kay, discovering the photograph in the album. A photograph of Captain Yeager, lost at sea some 25 years ago. And yet you're certain it's the same man you found on the beach off Chalk Point just a few minutes ago. Very much alive. A man who seemed dazed. Spoke of the wreck of a ship named Star of Shanghai, the same as Captain Yeager's old ship. He also said Yeager House was his home. You leave Mrs. Yeager in the upstairs room, hurry down to the study, and then you stop just outside the door. You're afraid to go in, aren't you, Kay? Yes, because he's in there, the man you found on the beach.
Oh, the doorbell.
Here's the doc, Miss Kay. He brought the sheriff with him.
Oh, yes. Come in, Dr. Henderson. Come in, Sheriff.
Thank you, my dear. You, Miss Mellon. Now, where is this young man?
In there. The study.
Well, I'll take a look at him. I'll go with you, Doc. Miss Mellon, old Dave was telling me you said this man mentioned the Star of Shanghai.
Yes, that's right.
That was the name of Captain Yeager's ship that went down 25 years ago.
So I understand.
Schooner it was.
So, was this one?
I see. You mentioned when this wreck happened?
He said something about being in the water for hours and hours.
Funny, we usually get a call from the Coast Guard when there's a shipwreck.
And you didn't?
No.
Oh, Miss Kay.
Yes, Doctor.
The young man, you sure you left him in here?
Of course, isn't he? He was sitting right there and... He's gone.
You notice a quick exchange of glances between Dr. Henderson and Dave, don't you, Kay? And then the sheriff joins you and the others in a search of the house. All the rooms except Mrs. Yeager's. You search the grounds, too, but there's no sign of the young man.
I can't understand it. Where could he have gone?
Well, he's not around here, that's a sure thing, miss.
We might have wandered down to the beach again.
Maybe. I'll have my deputy organize a search party as soon as I get to a phone. You're a writer, aren't you?
In my spare time.
Old Dave tells me you finished a novel, some sort of a sea story, right?
Yes. That's right. Why do you ask?
Oh, I was just wondering, that's all.
What is it, Sheriff?
Like I said, Miss Fallon, I'll have my boys organize a search party to look for this man you said you found on the beach. But you see...
But what?
For your sake, I hope this isn't just a publicity stunt, Miss Fallon.
Publicity stunt?
Sometimes a writer thinks a little sensational publicity, well, you know what I mean.
Now, see here, Sheriff.
If Captain Yeager was still alive, he'd have made himself known years ago.
But the photograph in Mrs. Yeager's album, it's the same man. I know it.
Sure.
The album is in her room. You can see for yourself.
Mrs. Yeager isn't well, as you know, and I don't think it would be advisable to intrude on her at this time. With a story like this, Miss Fowler.
But I tell you, the man
Good night.
You stand there for a moment staring after him. Then you turn angrily, walk into the house. Then you remember the cup of milk Mrs. Yeager had asked for. A few minutes later, you go upstairs. And as you approach Mrs. Yeager's room...
Hey! Mrs. Yeager, what is it? What's wrong?
Oh, my dear.
There's your lamp on the floor. What happened?
Well, I must have knocked it over when I woke up. I had dozed off. I had the strangest dream.
Dream?
That the captain had come back.
What?
Oh, it was so real. He was standing here by my bed, looking down on me.
No, Miss Fallon, we couldn't find any trace of the man. My deputy and his boys were out practically all night. No sign of him at all.
I see, Sheriff.
Check with the Coast Guard, too. They don't know anything about a shipwreck. The only schooner called the Star of Shanghai ever heard of went down 25 years ago.
The sheriff still thinks it's a publicity stunt on your part, doesn't he, Kay? And so does everyone else. You're angry and still a little frightened. And you decide to go straight to your employer, Mrs. Yeager. Tell her of the wet footprints beside her bed the night she dreamed her husband had returned. And see if she has any possible explanation. You hurry to the parking lot behind the telegraph office where you parked your car. You get in, step on the starter. As you maneuver out of the narrow parking strip, your back bumper strikes something at the side of the building. Annoyed, you get out and discover that you've damaged a bicycle. You leave a note with your address, offering to pay for any repairs, and then drive swiftly back to the house at Chalk Point. As you start inside, you glance toward the sea, and your heart seems to jump up in your throat. A low fog still clings to the shore, and in it the figure of a man walking slowly along the beach. You're certain it's the same man you saw stagger from the sea. You hurry down the path, your heart pounding now. He's vanished, hasn't he, Kay? Nowhere in sight. Suddenly you hear a familiar voice behind you.
Hello, Kay.
What? Oh, Jess.
Sorry, I didn't mean to startle you.
Oh, that's all right, Jess. I'm glad you're here.
I just thought I'd come down and take a look around on my own. I'm only the deputy sheriff.
You mean you believe my story of what happened last night, Jess?
Well, that you found a man on the beach? Why shouldn't I, Kay? I know you too well to think you'd make up a story like that for publicity purposes.
Oh, thank heaven someone believes me.
Well, as for it being Captain Yeager...
Of course there wasn't Captain Yeager. But the photograph in the album, it's the same man.
Yes, sir. I wonder if you could get that photograph for me. Quietly, that is. We don't want to alarm Mrs. Yeager.
Yes. Yes, I think so. I'll have to wait until she goes to sleep. It'll be sometime after 9.
I'll be waiting here. 9 o'clock.
Well, she might decide to read, however. It might be later. I'd better drive into the village in the morning and meet you there.
I could be here at 9 tonight, just in case.
No, I think we'd better wait until morning.
Okay. You got a few minutes now?
Yes, of course.
Let's walk down the beach. I'd like you to tell me what happened last night, exactly the way it happened. Every little detail you remember.
At last, Kay, you found someone who believes in you. Jess Williams, the young deputy sheriff. The man you know you can trust. That night, you wait in your room for Mrs. Yeager to go to sleep. You glance casually through the San Francisco paper you bought at the village. And then suddenly something you see on one of the inside pages startles you. A photograph of a man.
Carl Tassin. Deported gangster shot in gun battle with San Francisco police. The one-time underworld czar who had re-entered the United States illegally was slain. Yes, come in.
Evening, Miss Kay.
Oh, Dave, what is it?
I just saw Mrs. Yeager.
Yes?
She won't be wanting her hot milk tonight.
All right, Dave, thank you. I guess I'll go straight to bed.
Good idea.
Oh, Dave.
Yes?
Nothing. Never mind.
Night, Miss Kay.
It suddenly occurred to you, didn't it, Kay, where you met the man whose picture you saw in the San Francisco paper. Yes, he's Carl Tassin, the gangster. And you saw him with old Dave 2 weeks ago. Bumped into them accidentally one night as they were leaving his cottage. You remember how they hurried away when they saw you. You recall Dave's pointed questions the next day. At the time, you gave little thought to the matter, but now you realize Dave was pumping you to see whether or not you got a close look at Tassin. You wonder about the whole Chalk Point setup. And then suddenly things begin to fall into place. And you sit there thinking it out. Then you tiptoe down the hall to Mrs. Yeager's room and listen. You hear a voice, a man's voice, but you can't make out what he's saying.
Miss
And
Kay.
then...
Dave!
Too bad you was listening, Miss Kay. Now you better go on in.
Now look, Mrs. Yeager, if...
Dave, what's the idea?
She was outside the door, ma'am, getting an earful.
Oh, I see. Come on in, Miss Fallon.
Well.
We've met before, haven't we?
That's right. On the beach last night. You, rescued me from the surf. Captain Yeager, that's me.
Really? I find that a little hard to believe.
So did the police, huh?
You planned the whole act. To discredit me.
Mrs. Yeager planned it. I preferred more violent action.
Mrs. Yeager!
Yes, Kay, I didn't want you to get hurt.
And all this because I happened to see a man outside of Dave's cottage 2 weeks ago. A gangster you had smuggled into the States. Carl Tassin.
That's right. After Tassin got himself knocked off, we figured you'd probably see his picture in the paper. Go to the police.
But after what happened last night, nobody would believe the story about Tassin either.
Right. In your case, the little girl who cried wolf once too often.
Very clever, Mr.
Norton. Captain Norton. Master of the freighter Western Star.
So that's how you get your clients to the States.
Carl Tassin was a special case, the kind of man we could have used. Actually, our main business is smuggling. We've got a great setup here, Miss Fallon, and you're not going to spoil it.
Well, what are you going to do, Captain?
What I should have done a long time ago, Mrs. Yeager, instead of going through that crazy routine of yours.
No, I won't allow it.
Oh, you won't allow it?
No.
Huh?
As long as I'm a partner and you're using my house as a rendezvous, what I say goes.
Not anymore. I'm running this, and you'll do as I say. You're in pretty deep, Mrs. Yeager. Don't forget that.
Now, listen to me.
Save your breath. It's the only way. It's this girl or us. All right, Miss Fallon. Suppose the two of us take a nice little stroll along the beach.
You're certain he's going to kill you, aren't you, Kay? Because you know too much. As you walk through the downstairs hall, you glance at the clock, a few minutes after 9. And then you realize if you'd listened to the deputy, agreed to let him wait for you at the beach, he'd be there now, close by to save you. You move out of the house, Captain Norton right behind you, the gun in his hand. And the two of you go down the path to the beach.
All right, Miss Fallon. This is as far as we go.
Listen to me, Captain Norton.
Like I told the old lady, save it. You know, you're a nice-looking doll, Kay. Yeah. I sort of hate to do this, but I've got to think of that easy dough I'm making. Those suckers who'll pay $5,000 to have me ease them into the States.
I wouldn't tell anyone.
Oh, sure, I bet you wouldn't. Sorry, baby. Sorry.
It all seems like a nightmare, doesn't it, Kay? The strange man staggering out of the sea, his complete disappearance, the realization that Chalk Point is the headquarters of a criminal smuggling ring, that even your employer, Mrs. Yeager, is a part of it. And then the walk to the beach with Captain Norton, the head of the organization, his decision to kill you. Yes, your mind is spinning when suddenly you realize you're lying on the couch in the study of Yeager House. And your friend, Jess Williams, the deputy sheriff, is standing close by, looking down on you, smiling.
Hiya, Kay. Feeling all right?
I think so, Jess. How did I get here?
You fainted.
But Captain Norton...
Easy now. He's in the other room, handcuffed to old Dave. Dave gave me the whole story of the racket, including Mrs. Yeager's part in it.
But Captain Norton had a gun. He was going to shoot me.
I know. I spotted the two of you when you left the house. When I saw he had you covered with the gun, I followed. Looks like I fired just in time.
You saved my life, Jess.
Yeah. Funny the way it happened, too. I wasn't intending to see you until tomorrow morning. I was cruising around the village in a squad car a little while ago. Ran into Frankie Holden.
The youngster at the telegraph office?
Yeah. He had a telegram to deliver out this way. His bicycle was broken, so I gave him a lift.
You mean?
I mean a certain hit-and-run artist named Kay Fallon smashed Frankie's bicycle, left a very thoughtful note on it. Lucky you did, too. Otherwise, I wouldn't have picked Frankie up. Been out here tonight.
Featured in tonight's story were Bill Foreman as the Whistler, Virginia Gregg, Larry Thor, Isabel Randolph, Raymond Burr, Leo Cleary, and Britt Wood. The Whistler was produced and directed by George W. Allen, with story by Adrian John Doe, music by Wilbur Hatch. and was transmitted overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. The Whistler was entirely fictional, and all characters portrayed on The Whistler are also fictional. Any similarity of names or resemblance to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
Speaking from London. The Black Museum. Here, in a grim stone structure on the Thames, which houses Scotland Yard, there's a warehouse of homicide. A very strange room where everyday objects, a woman's shoe, a tiny white box, a quilted robe, all are touched by murder. You take this raincoat. It's a familiar object, waterproof cloth, rayon lining, collar. You can turn up against stormy weather. Here in London, it's called a Macintosh. But you wouldn't wear this raincoat.
Oh, isn't it, Inspector? The way it was tucked around that poor woman?
And partially burned, as if someone had tried to destroy the evidence.
Well, it is evidence, sir. But against whom?
I'm not sure yet. But this raincoat, Sergeant, this raincoat will hang someone. You can depend on it.
Today, that raincoat can be seen in a very special position in that very curious room in Scotland Yard, which is known as the Black Museum.
From the annals of the Criminal Investigation Department of the London Police, we bring you the dramatic stories of the crimes recorded by the objects in Scotland Yard's Gallery of Death, the Black Museum. In just a moment, you will hear The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles. Now, The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles.
Now, here we are in the Black Museum, Scotland Yard's museum. It's a museum of murder. Here are the objects of homicide, the weapons, the clues, which at one time and another betrayed killers. They've been collected over 100 years. And now here they are, shelf upon shelf, in this dim, echoing room. Here lies death on these shelves, in these glass cases. Just for instance, in this case, simple mallets. Just the sort of thing a suburbanite might use in his garage or his shop working at wood carving on a quiet weekend. As a matter of fact, a suburbanite did use this mallet on a quiet weekend, but not for wood carving. The raincoat. There we are. Stained, charred, too, around the edges. Isn't anything you'd like to handle for very long, but there's a story attached to it. A story begins in the kind of place you immediately associate with absolute silence. No, not a graveyard. A chess club. It is silent, isn't it? And into this silence of concentration, there intruded...
London City Chess Club.
Is Mr. Agard there?
Sorry, sir, I haven't seen him yet. This is the steward of the club. May I take a message? We're expecting him.
I see.
My name is Champer. This is 46 Edison Mill East. He knows. We've had some contact by way of Agard's insurance business.
Yes, sir. And the message?
I want to see him about a policy. Tell him it's rather urgent. I want him at my house tomorrow evening at 7:30 sharp.
Very well, sir. I'll tell him as soon as he gets in. Mr. Agard, sorry to disturb you, sir. Just a moment, Steward. There. Now, your move. Now, Steward, a most important telephone message for you, sir. Came in about half an hour ago before you came in. Otherwise, I would never have disturbed you. From a Mr. Chamfer, sir. Chamfer. Strange name. Oh, yes. Yes, perhaps I do know him. May I have the message, Steward?
That was all. That was all until the next evening. A little bit after 7 o'clock on a streetcar, this quiet little insurance salesman, John Agard, said to the conductor of the streetcar,
I beg your pardon. Does this car take me to Edison Mews East? I've never been out there before, you see. I'm not...
Yes, you're all right, mister. Take you about 20 minutes from here.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'll call it out for you if you like.
Oh, yes, thank you again. Thank you very much. Oh, I beg your pardon. May I trouble you for the right time, please?
It's 7:35.
I am right for Edison Mews East, aren't I?
That one's locked to the car line.
Oh, thank you. I beg your pardon, Constable. Yes, sir? I am looking for a Mr. Chamfer. In Edison Mews East, I have an appointment. It's insurance. Do you happen to know the gentleman, officer?
Oh, I'm afraid not, sir.
Oh, dear. And my date was for 7:30. Is it much past that now?
7:45, sir. Steeple chimes just struck the 3/4.
Oh, thank you very much indeed. I'm sorry to have troubled you, officer.
He seemed a worried little man, John Agard, upset over his difficulty in finding Mr. Chamfer, and he was still worried, apparently, about an hour later, when his next-door neighbors, Harry and Ethel Benson, saw him coming across the scrap of lawn which separated their houses.
Is Agard coming over? Funny.
Why is it funny, Harry? They come over very often.
That's just it. Martha isn't with him. Funny.
Such a devoted couple. Martha had a bad cold today. Perhaps John needs something.
Well, no isn't enough. There he is. Hello, Agard. Spotted you coming across the lawn. Yes, good evening. You know, I am sorry to bother you.
No bother at all. Do you need something for Martha's cold?
Oh, you know about that. No, and yes. I suppose the cold made her forget to unbolt the doors when she went to bed. You mean you can't get into your own house, old man? That's it. Front and back. I can't seem to open either of them. I don't quite know what to do about it.
Not like Martha to forget a thing like that. She always bolts the door behind you when she's alone.
Oh, at night, yes. There's only the two of us. I do so rarely go out without her, but tonight it was business. If you come across with me, I'd appreciate it.
The three of them crossed the lawn to the Agard house. 3 ordinary people. An insurance agent, a bank clerk, bank clerk's wife. The wife said,
Let me try the front door just for luck.
John Agard said,
It won't help her. I've tried several times.
The woman tried it.
That's a bit strange. I could have sworn.
It happens lots of times. The lock gets stuck. It's really open, and you think it's locked, and it just won't work.
Well, now you're here. Won't you stop in for a moment?
Well, what with Martha's cold and all that...
she'll like to see you. Come in, please.
Well, just for a minute.
Martha? Martha, dear? The Bensons are with me. Martha!
Oh, my...
Good Lord.
She was dead. Completely, horribly dead. One look. No doctor could help. The woman's head was battered in. She lay before the fireplace, her arms and legs twisted awkwardly like some carelessly dropped wooden figure, and there was blood on the hearth, on the walls, too, on the chair, on the rugs. And tucked around the body, as you tuck a blanket around a child, was a raincoat.
Let me go over this once more, Mr. Agar.
Of course, Inspector, if you think it'll help.
Details very often help. You say you left here just before 7. Took a trolley to Edison Mews. But you couldn't find the address or the man who'd called you. Even asked the constable on the beat. Then you returned home to what you found.
That is correct, sir.
And your wife was alive when you left home.
Oh, of course. That was about 7:15.
The boy who delivers milk says he saw her in the kitchen through the window about that time. The newsboy says he tossed the evening paper at the front door about 6:30, but saw no one. Can you corroborate any of those points?
Oh, I took the paper with me at 7:15. Martha was alive when I left. Who could have done this, Inspector? Who?
We'll find out. We usually do. May I see the cuffs of your trousers, Mr. Agar?
The cuffs of my... Oh, yes. But whatever for?
Thank you. No? No stains of any kind?
But do you really think for 1 minute that I...
We think nothing. Not yet. The raincoat, Mr. Agar, is it yours?
And are there 2 worn spots at the buttonhole?
There are.
It's... mine.
When did you see it last?
It was hanging on its usual hook in the hall.
I see. Thank you, Mr. Raincoat. That's about all for now.
That's about all for now. But not nearly all. The experts were at work. Somewhere, somehow, the tiny thread which would lead to the heart of the tangle would be found. In a quiet office in Scotland Yard, Inspector Mason discussed the experts' reports with Sergeant Crandall.
It couldn't have been robbery. Agard reports nothing missing.
Agard reports a lot of things, including a mysterious telephone call that took him on a wild goose chase.
During which he seems to take good care to leave a clear trail of his own movements. She was seen alive between 6:30 and 6:45. Agard was in the tobacco shop at 7:35. The girl who works there remembers him.
He probably took good care she would.
Beyond a doubt he did that. But he couldn't have battered her to death after 6:45, cleaned up, destroyed whatever he was wearing, and still be in that shop at 7:35.
Or made that trolley car a few minutes after 7.
Exactly.
Which leaves us, Inspector?
With a raincoat.
It's odd, isn't it, Inspector? The way it was tucked around that poor woman.
And partially burned, as if someone tried to destroy the evidence.
Well, it is evidence, sir. But against whom?
I'm not sure yet. But this raincoat, Sergeant... this raincoat will hang someone. You can depend on it.
That was all they had. The raincoat. Inspector Mason thought about it.
It was tucked around her just as if someone who loved her were taking care of her.
There was a thread. It seemed the only thread. Where did it lead? Where could it lead? Where could any of it lead?
John Agard, you're under arrest, and you'll be later charged with the murder of your wife, Martha. It is my duty to caution you that anything you may say...
Today, that raincoat can be seen in a very special position in that very curious room in Scotland Yard, which is known as the Black Museum.
In just a moment, we will continue with The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles. And now we continue with The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles.
Well, they charged John Agard with the murder of his wife, Martha. The evidence seems slight, pretty flimsy, but still, there were strange lapses, contradictions of character. Quiet little insurance salesman responds to a call from a possible client, and suddenly he's talkative, almost garrulous. He establishes himself at definite places at definite times with total strangers, all of whom can be checked quite easily by the police. The possible client is non-existent. And then, of course, there was the raincoat. From the very beginning, the prosecutor for the Crown made it clear that a great deal of his case rested on that raincoat.
And if the prisoner did commit this murder for apparently no reason, he deserves the full punishment. Much will be made of the quiet life he led with his wife. Much will be made of the fact that no telltale trace of blood was found on him or his clothing. But I say to you, and we hope to prove this to your satisfaction, that this woman could have been beaten to death by someone wearing only the raincoat, which we will place in evidence. Now, who, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, could have approached Martha Agard naked save for that raincoat, except her husband, the prisoner, John Agard? Moreover, as you will see, the police officer...
There was more of the same, much more. Counsel for the Crown was out to make an impression, no doubt about that. But then, so was counsel for the defense.
I think it admitted that no trace of it was found upon my client, although from the condition of the body and though time. John Agard could never have committed this crime, performed the necessary ablutions, and been where he was definitely seen between 6:45, when his corpse was last seen alive by a third party, and 7:05, the moment when my client spoke to the trolley conductor. But far, far more important is the relationship between my client and his poor wife, a relationship of love, of understanding, of the perfect companionship of declining years. For that reason alone, I submit my client could never have committed the crime with which he stands charged today.
So it began. The legal lines of battle were drawn. 12 honest men sat in the jury box and gave their whole attention to the parade of witnesses, to the arguments, to the cross-examinations. Sergeant Crandall gave evidence in the amount of blood and the places where it was found. Defense counsel cross-examined.
It is apparent, Sergeant, that there was an attempt to burn the raincoat, which is now in evidence. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Such an operation would take some time, would it not?
Well, I assume so. I can't say for certain. I've never experimented with a raincoat.
Very well. You saw the scene of the crime before it was cleaned up, did you not?
I did.
From what you saw, would you say it was possible for the killer to escape splashes of blood?
Well, I doubt it.
He would get blood on his legs, his hands, his face, his hair.
I expect so.
Were any such traces found on my client?
Well, none that I know of.
There has been a suggestion made that the murderer took a bath before leaving the premises. Did you see any traces of a bath? A wet towel, indications in the bathtub?
No, sir. Nothing like that.
One more point, Sergeant.
These are the telling points. But the Crown made its own points as well.
Inspector Mason, what was the defendant when you first questioned him?
I was rather surprised at him. He showed less emotion than I did.
How was this indicated?
We sat in the room where the murder had occurred. Mr. Agard smoked and talked. He held his cat on his knees and stroked it quite calmly. At one point, he casually stepped...
Such points... A clever prosecutor. Quite clever. He called the steward of the chess club.
Was Mr. Agard in the club when the telephone call came from this mysterious Mr. Champa?
No, sir. I looked particularly. He was not there.
Did you recognize this Champa's voice?
I'd never heard it before. I haven't heard it since.
Might it have been a disguised voice?
It might. It sounded muffled. Very heavy, sort of.
Thank you. Your witness.
Steward, in your observations of Mr. Agard, have you ever seen him behave as a poor loser?
No, sir, never.
Has he ever expressed violent opinions, to your knowledge?
Mr. Agard violent? He's the quietest man I've ever known.
Did he ever mention his wife to you?
Many times, sir.
On what occasions?
Usually about 9 in the evening. He always worried about leaving her alone too late at night, sir. Oh, very considerate of her he is, was, sir.
Thank you, that's all.
There it was, all they had. An elusive case. An impression, really, more than a case. Very difficult to prove, but just as difficult to defend. For instance, the evidence of Harry Benson, who was with John Agard when the body was discovered.
And in all the years you've been neighbors, what would you say impressed you most about my client's relationship with his wife?
His absolute devotion. Never a quarrel, never a raised voice. They liked the same things. They were perfect for each other.
Your witness?
Mr. Benson, after the discovery, who called the police?
Why, Agard did, come to think of it. My wife was very upset. She was sick over what she'd seen, as a matter of fact. Yes, he was the one who thought of the police. He used the telephone quite calmly.
Quite calmly? Thank you, Mr. Benson.
And naturally, the defense brought John Agard's immediate superior to the stand, the manager of the local branch of the insurance company Agard represented. This man's testimony was double-edged. On direct examination, he stated,
"We have always had complete faith in Mr. Agard's integrity and character. He carried a large policy on his own life in favor of his wife. She was not insured. To the best of our knowledge, which is rather complete, Mr. Agard has never been in financial trouble in his life."
On cross-examination, he explains,
"Yes, I live near Edison Mews East. Mr. Agard has been to my house many times. He knows the way very well. I cannot imagine why he asked for directions. I was at the cinema that evening. My neighbor recognized Mr. Agard when he came to the door of my house. Unfortunately, I was not at home."
When John Agard's turn came to take the witness stand, there was little left for him to say.
"I did not kill her. I had no reason to. I loved her."
Opposing counsel summed up. The judge made his charge to the jury.
Again and again, you have heard the importance of the time element in this case. Could this man, or any man, have committed this crime, removed all traces of it from his person, dressed and been at a trolley car line 20 minutes from his house, in the time between the moment the milk boy saw the victim alive and the moment the conductor saw the defendant on the trolley car? More, there is no evidence to connect the defendant directly with the crime. The case is entirely circumstantial. No motive has been established. I can only...
They listened. The 12 honest men in the jury box. They retired and they debated. What went on in that jury room is sealed in silence under the honored tradition of the law. Anyway, 40 minutes elapsed. Then the jury re-entered the courtroom. The clerk asked the usual question. "Are you agreed upon a verdict?"
"We are."
"Do you find the prisoner guilty or not guilty?"
"Guilty." "Prisoner at the bar, have you anything to say why you should not die according to the law?"
"I am not guilty. I have nothing else to say."
You're looking well, John.
They treat me well. I had a shock yesterday. The governor of the prison came here. He said 8 o'clock in the morning, Monday the 16th.
Don't worry, John. It will be put over.
The appeal?
It's being studied. The court won't rule for another month at least. They're going to stay of execution.
A month. Another month.
A month. An extra week after that. Time went on endlessly, it seemed, to John Agard, waiting in his cell in Walton Prison. And at long last, they gave him his own clothes and took him before 3 judges of the Court of the Criminal Appeal. Handcuffed, he stood there between the bailiff and his own counsel. The voice of the judge seemed very far away.
"There is indeed reasonable doubt in this case. We believe there is eminent difficulty and doubt. The case against the appellant
was not proved with the certainty necessary to a verdict of guilty. This appeal will be allowed. The prisoner will go free.
Yes, he went free. But the raincoat, that famous raincoat, can still be found today in its place of very particular honor in that curious room known as the Black Museum.
Orson Welles will be back with you in just a moment. Now here in person is Orson Welles.
So, Inspector Mason was wrong, wasn't he? The raincoat didn't hang anybody after all. John Agard went free, and for the first time in the history of English law, a conviction for murder was set aside for reasonable doubt. Now, what happened to John Agard? He lived out his life. Just 2 years after his release, he died. Some say of loneliness. In Liverpool, a broken, weary old man. I've seen his grave in Liverpool. And I've seen the raincoat. That famous, enigmatic raincoat. In its place of particular honor. In that strange room in Scotland Yard. Known as the Black Museum. Now, till we meet again in the same place for another story of the same kind, I remain as always obedient for yours.
The Black Museum, starring Orson Welles, is presented by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Radio Attractions. The program is written by Ara Marion, with original music composed and conducted by Sidney Torch. Produced by Harry Allen Towers.
Mutual presents The Mysterious Traveler.
This is The Mysterious Traveler, inviting you to join me on another journey into the realm of the strange and the terrifying. I hope you will enjoy the trip, that it will thrill you a little and chill you a little. So settle back, get a good grip on your nerves, and be comfortable, if you can, as you hear the story I call They Struck It Rich. story tonight begins behind the high gray walls of a state penitentiary. It is early Monday morning, and Dr. Richard Worth has just taken up his duties as a newly appointed staff psychiatrist at the prison. As he sits in his office studying the medical records that have been turned over to him, there's a knock on his door.
Come in. Sorry to bother you, Doctor, but they just brought a prisoner from the warden's office for you to examine. Case of hysteria.
Hysteria?
That's what they said.
Very well, Cook. Show him in.
Okay, in here, fellow.
That's a hot one, really a hot one. Me, Frankie Williams, on top at last. I'm a big shot.
Here's his medical record, Doc.
Thanks, Cook. That'll be all.
Yes.
All right, sit down, Williams. Williams, sit down. That's better. Here, drink this. Drink this. Now, let me see. Frank Williams, age 34. Uh-huh. How do you feel now, Williams?
I'm okay now, Doc. I guess the news was too much for me. Everything's going to be all right now. You know what I mean. You take care of me, Doc, and I'll take care of you.
I see. Williams, tell me about yourself.
What do you want to know?
Well, anything you feel like talking about. Tell me about your childhood. How you happened to be in prison.
Well, when I was 14, I was sent to reform school for knifing a guy. When I was 18, I got a 4 to 6 year stretch for a stick-up.
Mm-hmm. Well, why are you in prison now?
You mean you don't know?
I'm afraid not.
Doc, 6 years ago, my picture was in every paper in the country. I was famous.
Well, 6 years ago, I was in a Japanese prison of war camp, so I'm not familiar with your exploits. Why don't you tell me about it?
Sure, Doc. It all began back in 41, about a month before Pearl Harbor. I just gotten out of the big house on parole, and I managed to land a job as a sandhog on a tunnel that was building under the East River between Brooklyn and Manhattan. But one day I'm knocking off for work when I hear my name being called back.
Hey, Frank. Frank Williams. What's the matter? Don't you recognize an old pal?
Marty! Marty Davis, how are you, pal?
Swell.
Hey.
When'd you get out, kid?
2 weeks ago.
Parole, huh?
Yeah. You working on this tunnel, too?
Yeah, 6 months now.
Huh?
Frank, you're just the boy I'm looking for.
What's up?
Ever since I got out, I've been working on a little idea of mine. It'll take 2 guys, and the haul will be at least $100,000.
Oh, nothing doing, Marty. What do you think I took this job for? I'm a 3-time loser. One more rap and they'll send me up for life.
Look, kid, ain't I in the same boat? I'm a 3-time loser, too.
And you ought to have more sense. From now on, I'm going straight. I'm not going to risk getting a life sentence.
But, Frank, this idea of mine, it ain't any cheap stick-up. It's something big. And there's enough dough in it so that we can retire for the rest of our lives.
Nothing doing.
Ain't you even interested?
No.
They sure got you scared of that life sentence, ain't they?
Yeah. So long, Marty. See you around. I left Marty standing there, Doc, and walked away. There's one thing you got to say for Marty. He don't discourage easy. Day after day, he'd be waiting for me when I knocked off work. We'd have a few drinks together, and then Marty would go to work on me, trying to suck me into this big job he kept hinting about. Got so I took to avoiding him. And one night, while I was in a bar on the east side, Marty comes in and sees me sitting alone at a table. He pulls up a chair and sits down.
Hello, kid. Did you hear the news?
What news?
Now that this country's in the war, they're going to stop working on the tunnel. You and me are going to be out of work in a couple of days.
It's okay with me. I was getting sick of that job anyway.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know.
Why don't you play it smart? Throw in with me. I tell you, kid, this job I got lined up can't miss.
That's what you keep saying.
Frank, I feel so sure that if you knew what the job was, you'd go in with me. So I'm going to tell you about it.
I ain't asking you to.
I'll take a chance. While we was in stir, you remember me telling you about where I grew up?
Yeah, on the East River up around 106th Street.
Yeah, at Hellgate. I also told you about the way I was a sewerage pipe inspector for the city when I was a kid.
Yeah, I remember.
Frank, not many people know what the island of Manhattan is like underground. It's more than just a couple of subways. Why, underneath the streets are big gas mains, water pipes, electric lines, phone cables, and tunnels, and sewerage pipes big enough to drive a car through.
What are you getting at?
Kid, there's hardly a square foot underground this island that ain't honeycombed with pipes and sewers. And when it comes to sewerage systems up in my old neighborhood, I'm what you might call an expert.
Okay, so what?
Come on over to my room. I want to show you something.
Yeah, what?
You'll see. Come on. Let's go. Give me a hand unrolling this map, will you? It's pretty big.
Okay.
Yeah. You recognize it?
Well, this is the East River, ain't it? And this is a section of Manhattan from 86th Street up to 125th Street.
That's right.
What are all these red, yellow, green, and blue lines on it?
The red lines are electric cables. Yellow lines are gas mains. The green are water pipes, and the blue are phone cables, and the black lines are sewerage pipes. This is an official city map that I lifted.
You were sure right when you said this island is honeycomb.
Yeah. You see this place I got my finger on?
Yeah? 106th Street and East River.
That's right. But what this map doesn't show is that this is where the Hellgate Bank and Trust Company is.
Hellgate Bank?
Yeah.
Oh. Now I'm beginning to get your idea.
Look at this black line that runs into the East River. That's a big 10-foot sewerage pipe, and it runs past the bank, only 60 feet away.
Uh-huh.
You and me, we ought to be able to dig a tunnel from the sewer to under the vault of the bank in 10 nights.
Oh, there's one thing you're forgetting.
What's that?
This island is all sandstone. How are we going to tunnel through stone? That calls for drills.
Kid, the island of Manhattan may be all sandstone, but at this point, where the bank is, it's all dirt.
Dirt?
Yeah. You see, the riverbed has been shifting these past hundreds of years, and during all that time, mud's been accumulating along this stretch at 106th Street. Today, all that mud is part of the island, with buildings on it. And one of the buildings on it is the Hellgate Bank.
Yeah, I sure got to hand it to you, Marty. You got all the answers.
I spent enough time casing this job to make me an expert.
Wouldn't be too tough to tunnel through 60 foot of dirt.
Of course it wouldn't. And think of what the jackpot would be, kid. I'll guarantee you there'll be at least $100,000 in the vault. What do you say?
100 G's. And a two-way split. Okay, Marty. You can count me in. A few days later, Marty and me moved into a basement cold water flat a block away from the bank. Every night for a week, we kept bringing to the flat things we would need for the job. A two-man rubber raft, shovels, pickaxes, flashlights, tape measures, small boards for shoring up the tunnel. No college engineer ever cased the job better. A couple of weeks later, Marty and me figured we was ready. We waited until a dark night, then we took the rubber raft, shovel, and a pickaxe and left the flat. We went to the rear of the old tenement house where there was a manhole that led down into the sewerage pipe. We eased the manhole cover off, and Marty started down the ladder. I handed him the stuff, and then I followed, after pulling the cover back on the manhole. 15 foot down, Marty was standing on a small ledge. The water swirled past, a little below the ledge.
Frank, hold the raft while I fill it with air.
Okay, Marty.
Now, where'd I put that tube? Here it is. It shouldn't take more than a minute to fill it up.
Hey, is there any danger of gas down here, Marty?
Not in winter.
Boy, that water's sure running fast.
Yeah. We'll have to be careful or we're liable to be swept out to the river. Okay, Frank, she's all filled up. Now drop the raft into the water and hold on to it.
Right.
Just wait until I tie the end of this rope to the ladder. There. Now get in, kid.
Yeah.
That's it. Now hold the raft steady while I get in.
Easy does it, Marty.
Now play this rope out nice and slow, and we'll float down to the right spot. Here's the first knot on the rope, and that's 50 feet. 100. 150. 200. This is it, kid. Right here.
Okay, Marty. Now try to hold the raft as steady as you can while I break into the wall with this pickaxe. This is going to be a tough job.
Yeah. I feel as though my arms are being pulled up, trying to hold this raft steady in this current. I only hope that this rope I'm hanging on to don't give.
We shoot out to the river. If it did.
Are you coming?
I'm getting there. That night, we broke through the concrete wall and reached dirt. The second night, we tunneled through 5 feet, slanting it upwards so that if the water in the sewer rose, our tunnel wouldn't be flooded. The third night, we dug another 6 feet, shoring up every other foot so there wouldn't be any cave-in. Night after night, we worked. And soon the tunnel was slanting down sharply so as to end up under the floor of the vault. While one of us dug, the other would get rid of the dirt. On a Wednesday night, exactly 2 weeks from the time we'd started, we figured we were under the vault of the bank. Marty and me rested up a couple of days. Then on Saturday afternoon, we went over our plans for the last time.
Well, this is it, Frank. Tonight's the payoff. At about 9 o'clock, we'll leave.
Yeah, it shouldn't take us more than an hour to burn through the floor of the vault. You know what those old bank vaults are like. The sides of the top are a couple of feet thick, but the floors are always thin.
Sure. We won't have much trouble. We should have the vault cleaned out by midnight. We'll spend the rest of the night getting rid of the equipment.
The river, huh?
Yeah. Then we'll go over this flat with a fine-tooth comb. Make sure we ain't leaving anything behind. And we'll wipe down the whole place so the cops won't find any prints.
By tomorrow morning, we should be ready to travel.
That's right. When the bank opens Monday morning, we'll be in the hideout upstate. A few months there, the heat'll be off. And then you and me, kid, are gonna have ourselves a time.
We sure are, Marty.
Okay. We'd better try to grab a couple hours shut-eye. We got a tough night ahead of us.
I hit the sack and tried to get some shut-eye, but I was too keyed up to fall asleep. The hours dragged by, and soon it got dark. At 9 o'clock, we left the flat. A few minutes later, we were going down the ladder into the sewer. We filled the raft with air, loaded our equipment on it, then floated down the sewer to the tunnel we built. Each of us grabbed a suitcase and started snaking our way through the tunnel. First, there was a gradual climb of 15 feet. Then the tunnel sloped sharply for 50 feet, with us ending up under the vault. Marty got out the tools and scraped away the last foot of dirt, exposing the floor of the vault. Then I got to work with the acetylene torch. It was tough working in a 3x4 hole. A half hour passed, and I was still burning my way through.
How's it coming, Frank?
Won't be long now, Marty.
The air's sure foul in here.
Yeah, it's hard to breathe. I think that does it. Hand me the pickaxe, Marty.
Here you are, kid.
Just a couple of taps, and this piece of floor should give. Here it comes. Help me ease it down.
It's a pleasure.
There.
Okay, kid. Up you go. You got your flash?
Yeah, I got it. Marty, I'm in the vault. We came up dead center. You sure had it figured out to the inch.
Not bad for a guy who never finished the 5th grade. Come on, kid. Let's take a look at the cash drawer.
Yeah. Hey, Marty. Look at it. The whole drawer is full of bundles of bills. There must be 100 G's here.
That's only part of it. Now remember, no new bills and nothing smaller than 20.
Okay, Marty. I'll get the suitcase.
Well, kid, that does it. 120 G's. We couldn't cram another bill into these suitcases if we tried.
Gee, Marty. Look at all the dough we're leaving behind.
Yeah, I know how you feel. But this is as much as we can carry. Come on, Frank. Grab one of the suitcases and half the equipment.
Okay, Marty.
We're going to have a tough time hauling all this stuff back through the tunnel. You all set?
Yeah.
I'll lead the way. Make sure nothing's left behind.
Don't worry, I'll double-check.
Okay, Frank. Come on.
I'm coming.
The best way is to push the suitcase ahead of you.
Yeah.
With the equipment piled on top of it.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
You okay, Frank?
Yeah, I'm right behind you.
That's funny. I feel as though I'm slowly sinking.
Yeah. Marty, the floor's caving in. We're falling. We're falling! Marty, where are you?
I'm over here. You okay?
Yeah, I think so. What about you?
I just had the wind knocked out of me.
Sure is dark. What happened?
The floor of our tunnel caved in.
Yeah. I wonder where we are.
You got your flashlight?
No, I dropped it when I fell.
Yeah, so did I. Feel around, Frank. Should be near you.
Okay, Marty. This would happen to us just when we hit the jackpot.
Yeah, what lousy luck. You find it yet?
No, the ground here is just mud. Soft mud and puddles of water.
Frank, I found my flash.
Does it work?
Wait a minute. Yeah. Now, let's have a look at this place.
It's a small cave.
Yeah, you're right. Wait till I shine the beam on the ceiling.
Marty, look. There's the hole in the ceiling where we fell through.
Yeah, that was a 30-foot fall. If we hadn't landed on mud, we'd really been banged up.
Without a ladder, we'll never be able to reach that opening in the ceiling.
Yeah, I know. Now, let's see what the rest of this place looks like. Ain't very big, is it?
There's nothing but mud walls. Marty, we're trapped.
Take it easy, kid. It ain't that bad. We still got our tools, the torch, and most important of all, the dough.
A lot of good that'll do us if we don't get out of here.
We'll get out. Give me that pickaxe.
What are you going to do?
I want to see what this wall is like. This is the river end, all right. Nothing but mud. Now, this is what we're going to do, Frank. We'll dig in about 5 feet or so, and then we'll start tunneling our way up.
60 feet? That'll take us a week.
Well, I'm hoping we'll run into a shaft or something. It's our only chance, kid.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Now, hold the flash for me. That's it. Now, shine it against the wall while I start digging.
I guess you dug about 3 feet, Marty.
Yeah, just about.
Want me to take over?
I ain't tired yet. Frank, I struck wood. Heavy wood.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. Maybe it's the wall of an old cellar.
A cellar? This deep?
Could be. Hold the flash closer while I scrape away the mud from the wood. Look, it's a solid wall of heavy timber. It must be at least 100 years old. See how rotten that wood is? Sounds hollow. I'll bet it's a cellar.
You think it might lead up to some old building?
Could be. Get the torch, Frank. Let's burn our way through.
Okay, Marty.
It feels about 8 or 9 inches thick.
Well, here's the torch, but it ain't going to last long, Marty. It's almost all used up.
Yeah, I figured as much. Well, go ahead, kid. See what you can do.
Yeah, just about got it, Marty.
Good.
Oh, there goes the torch. Now, we'll have to break in the rest of the way.
Yeah, hold the flash, kid, while I use the pickaxe. That's it. A couple more and it should give. We got an opening. Give me the flash, Frank.
Here you are. What do you see, Marty?
Looks like a room of some sort. The floor's about 3 feet down, covered with mud. I'm going to climb in. Come on in, Frank.
I'm coming. Hold the flash this way.
The air in here is sure musty. I'll shoot the beam around so we can see what this place looks like. What's the matter with you?
Marty, didn't you see it? Over in the corner. Something white. It looked like a skeleton.
A skeleton? Yeah, you're right. Let's take a look at it.
Marty, I want to get out of here. I don't like this.
Get hold of yourself, will you? Oh, look at that. A sword.
A sword?
Yeah, and an old one, too. And the skeleton, it has the remains of a uniform on it. Frank, this ain't no cellar. We're on a ship.
A ship?
Yeah. This is a cabin we're in.
But what would a ship be doing here?
Back in the old times, the East River at this point was dangerous to sailing ships. That's how it became known as Hellgate. So many ships used to sink at this part of the river.
And this is one of the ships that sank in Hellgate?
Yeah. It probably sank over 100 years ago. And the tide swept it along the bottom of the river to this bank. As the years passed, the wreck became covered with mud. The riverbed changed, leaving it behind.
You mean this wreck is buried under the East River shore?
Yeah, that's what I figure. There ought to be a door somewhere in this cabin, leading to a passageway. You see it?
No. But then the walls are so covered with mud, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Wait a minute. There may be a door here. Hand me the pickaxe.
Here you are.
It's a door, all right. And here's the handle.
Is it a passageway, Marty?
No. No, it's a small room. Look, there's a half a dozen chests in here.
Chests? Yeah. They have locks on them, too.
Wait till I break the lock on this one. That does it. The lid seems stuck. Help me lift it.
Okay. Now lift. Hey, look. It's full of copper coins.
Frank, these ain't copper coins.
Huh?
Look, scratch one. These coins are gold.
Gold?
Frank, this is a treasure ship. A treasure ship, do you hear? Well, there's 10 times as much dough here as there was in the bank. We're rich, kid. We're rich.
How much do you think there is in here?
I don't know. But there must be millions. Think of it. And it's all ours.
How are we going to get it out of here? How are we going to get out of here, Marty?
Yeah, that's right. This wreck is probably buried 60 feet under the East River bank.
Yeah.
We'll have to go back to the cave and find another spot where we can start digging our way out.
But what about all this gold?
Don't worry, kid. We'll be back for it. But first we got to get out ourselves. Come on. Let's go back to the cave.
Yeah. The air is sure better in the cave.
Yeah. Now, let's try one of these other walls. You start digging, Frank.
Okay, Marty, you just... Hey, the beam is flickering.
Yeah, the batteries are shot. There it goes.
Marty, we can't dig our way out in the dark.
Don't you think I know it? Looks like the game is over, kid. Huh? You may as well sit down and take it easy.
But we just can't stay here in the dark.
You got any better ideas?
No. Guess not. What's going to happen to us, Marty?
Come Monday morning, the cops will be swarming all over the bank. They'll find the tunnel we dug under the vault, then they'll find us. Probably some fat sergeant will fall through the tunnel and land in our laps.
And the 120 G's and all the gold we found?
Well, the bank will get back the 120 G's, and as for the gold we found, your guess is as good as mine.
That's a hot one. We hit the jackpot twice in one night to the tune of millions, and we end up behind the 8 ball. This is really a hot one. All that has to happen now is for that fat sergeant to fall through the tunnel and land in our lap. And you know, that's just what happened. A fat cop fell through the floor of the tunnel and landed right on our laps. That's a hard one.
Williams, get hold of yourself. Get hold of yourself.
I'm okay, Doc. I'm
All
okay.
right. What happened after the police found you in the cave?
Well, Marty and me led the cops to the wreck. You should have seen their faces, Doc, when they saw the gold.
And the wreck you discovered, what ship was it?
You mean you didn't read about it in the papers, Doc? Back in January of 42? Why, it was in all the headlines.
I told you that at the time I was in a Japanese prisoner of war camp.
Oh. Well, Doc, that wreck that Marty and me found buried in the mud was the British treasure ship Hussar, which sank in the East River at Hellgate on September 13, 1780.
British treasure ship, huh? How much gold was it carrying?
£1 million in gold, Doc. That's over $4 million.
$4 million?
Yeah. The gold was sent over here to pay off the British soldiers who was fighting the Americans during the Revolution.
I see.
Marty and me heard all about it while we was waiting to go on trial for robbing the Hellgate Bank.
Ah. I see by your record here you were found guilty and received a life sentence.
Yeah, me and Marty both. The Hellgate Bank robbery made us 4-time losers. Been 6 years, Doc, since we found the wreck. 6 years.
Tell me, who got the $4 million in gold that you found?
Ain't you heard, Doc?
Heard what?
Well, I just come from the warden's office. The warden, he tells me that after 5 years of legal scrapping by my mouthpiece, Marty and me are going to get $2 million for that gold. Think of it, Doc. $1 million apiece.
$1 million?
Yeah. Ain't that a hot one, Doc? The court gives me $1 million. You know what that means? I'm a millionaire. The richest guy in this prison. Only, Doc, how am I going to spend it?
This is the mysterious traveler again. Did you enjoy our little trip? What happened to Frank Williams? Oh, the rich fellow is still serving his life sentence. All of his fellow prisoners have nicknamed him the millionaire. But the problem of spending the money is driving Frank crazy. However, he hasn't given up yet. Right now, he's figuring out how he can take it with him. Now, I recall another young man once who decided that money was the root of all evil, so he... Oh, you have to get off here. I'm sorry. I'm sure we'll meet again. I take this same train every week at this same time.
You've just heard The Mysterious Traveler, a series of dramas of the strange and terrifying. All characters in tonight's story were fictitious, and any resemblance to the names of actual persons was purely coincidental. In tonight's cast were Maurice Tarplin, Joe DeSantis, and Frank Thomas. Original music by Paul Taubman. The Mysterious Traveler is written, produced, and directed by Bob Arthur and David Kogan. Listen next week to a tale titled
7 Years to Wait.
Another strange and suspenseful tale of the Mysterious Traveler. This program has come to you from our New York studios. Another program of tense and dramatic action will follow in just a minute. Stay tuned to the station for Official Detective. Carl Caruso speaking. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Tonight's show, the mystery entitled The Girl in Cell 13, from the series Strange Wills, which is a bit of a mystery in itself. We know the show was recorded originally in 1949, but not for whom it was broadcast. But since the writing is excellent and the acting is of high level, we decided to run it without being able to tell you too much about it, although we're certain some of you will be able to tell us something about Strange Wills. All of us appreciate the way that so many of you have taken the time and trouble to share your knowledge of old radio with us. And now, in our second year of classic radio broadcast, we hope you'll continue to bring us the same enthusiasm. These shows are drawn from a source of over 30,000 programs, and we're trying hard to honor all requests we receive. So don't despair. Submit them again. But for tonight, pull up your chair, turn down the lights, sit back and relax, and let's visit The Girl in Cell 13.
Dead men's wills are often strange. We do not attempt to understand them or try to find the answers. We can but tell the story.
This is Warren Williams to tell you the story of The Girl in Cell 13. The history of the Tears of the Madonna, the most precious, perfectly matched pair of rubies ever found by man, is as colorful as the gems themselves. And their blood-red radiance is symbolic of the blood that has run freely throughout the pages of history in the quest for possession of these two priceless gems. For the past 5 years, the Tears of the Madonna had been in the possession of Charles Ashbrook, retired insurance executive. A bachelor, he lived in strict seclusion, attended only by his secretary, Malcolm Stewart, and the charming, intelligent Sandra Lane. Upon Miss Lane's very beautiful shoulders had fallen the task of buying most of the gems and precious stones in the famous Ashbrook collection. Her knowledge of the histories of rare stones was exceptional. I always liked to visit Charles Ashbrook, if for no other reason than to see the Tears of the Madonna. So, when I was invited over on a Sunday night, I lost no time in accepting.
Glad to see you, John. Glad to see you.
It's quite mutual, Charles, believe me. And how are the tears tonight?
The tears? You and the Tears of the Madonna. Well, you're going to be surprised by what I've decided to do with them.
Do with them? You don't mean to tell me you intend to sell them?
No, not sell. That is farthest from my mind. I'm going to give them away.
Oh, now I know you're joking. Or the tears are worth a king's ransom.
Oh, be patient. Wait till I tell you my plan. And then you may comment. I've sent for Sandra. She'll be down in just a moment. I want her to hear what I have to tell you.
Well, if it has to do with giving away the Tears of the Madonna, I know she won't like it. She loves those rubies even more than I do.
And I have every reason to believe that what you say is true, John. But you see, those rubies don't rightfully belong to me.
Don't belong to you?
No, let me finish.
I'm sorry, Charles.
Those rubies haven't belonged to anyone since the year 1200. You see, John, they were stolen from a Lama monastery in the high Tibet. Originally, they were the eyes of the goddess Singkapa. One day, a horde of wild horsemen under the leadership of Kublai Khan invaded Tibet.
The temple is empty. Everyone has fled. Look at that idol on the high altar. The eyes. They blaze with the red fire of hate.
Fool. Those eyes are precious rubies. Blood-red rubies.
Rubies? Then we must take them in the name of Kublai Khan. Come. Wait, I will climb up. Hand me your knife. Now then, out they come.
Look out. Look out, the idol is trembling. It's falling. John! Dead. My friend is dead. It is an ill omen. An ill omen.
Well, John, that's how the Tears of the Madonna began their strange history and left a trail of blood and death behind them.
If I may interrupt you, handsome gentlemen.
Why, of course, Sandra. Come in. We've been waiting for you.
Mr. O'Connell, it's so nice to see you again.
Thank you, Miss Lane. Our friend Charles has just started telling me about the tears. How they were first stolen by the soldiers of Kublai Khan from a monastery in high Tibet.
And I told a good story, too, Sandra. In fact, just the way you told it to me.
Oh, just as I suspected. Miss Lane is the one who knows all about the tears.
Right, John. She can tell you more about these rubies than anyone on earth. And she took years in putting the story together. You know, John, you wouldn't believe what I'm about to say, but it's true, every word. Sandra Lane loves the Tears of the Madonna beyond all human reason or understanding. I sometimes wonder what she's going to do when
what, Mr. Ashton?
When I dispose of them tonight.
But you're not serious. Tell me you're not serious.
You see what I mean, John? Look at her. Eyes full of horror, mouth open, face flushed.
Stop it, will you please? Will you answer me? Tell me you're not serious.
Unfortunately, I am. Unfortunately for me, and, well, as I see it, even more unfortunately for you, Sandra. That's why I asked John over tonight. You see, John, I'm going to make a will here tonight. My last written declaration. And, well, why should I keep you all in suspense any longer? Pardon me just a moment, please.
Yes?
Malcolm, would you come down to the study, please?
Yes, of course, Mr. Ashbrook.
And, Malcolm, bring down a notebook. I want you to take a few notes from Mr. O'Connell. He's going to prepare my last will and testament.
then, Charles, that brings us down to the last item, the jewels of the Madonna. You've taken down everything preceding, haven't you, Malcolm?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have. I'll transcribe everything for you while you're at supper. Oh, you can let it go until morning, Malcolm. I don't expect to die as quickly as all that. Oh, all right, sir. Now then, let's get back to the tears. They're well named, those tears of the Madonna. I told you, John, how they were taken from the idol in the Lama monastery. Supposing, Sandra, you tell us the rest of the story. Just the highlights, of course. Because actually, you could write a book about it, couldn't you?
Quite easily, I'm afraid. And each page would be filled with robbery, murder, and sudden death.
Sounds ominous.
Ominous is a mild word. The priests of the temple placed a curse on the tears until they would one day be returned to the eyes of Singh Karpar. Their curse has been very effective.
Almost as bad as the story of our own Hope Diamond.
Only more effective. The high priest decreed death to all who walk in their shadow.
Death to all who walk in their shadow. Well, now. Our friend Charles doesn't look like a walking corpse to me, Sandra.
So far, he has avoided the curse.
Of course, I've only owned the tears for 5 years. Give me time, John. Give me time.
Death does not always come at once, gentlemen. Sometimes it comes stealthily like a shadow. Sometimes it strikes swiftly like lightning.
Please tell me what happened in the past to those who walked in the shadow.
Kublai Khan was murdered as he slept. And the tears disappeared for over a century.
Who got them?
No one knows. But next they turned up in the Cathedral of Mirage. That's where they acquired their present name, Tears of the Madonna.
And were they stolen from the cathedral?
Yes, they were, and that's not all. In 1536, Milan was sacked by Spain. The city pillaged, the populace put to the sword.
And Spain got the tears?
No, they never reached Spain. They were stolen before the Spaniards left Milan. The 2 men who were guarding them had their throats cut.
Now you can see how lucky I've really been, John. Owning the tears and still being in one piece.
I still think, Charles, that avarice had much more to do with it than some pagan curse.
Avarice or a curse. The tears disappeared again for 50 years until they became the gift of the Sultan to his favorite wife.
Oh, that's quite an evolution. From the cathedral to the Sultan's favorite wife.
Oh, it was much more than that. One night her chambers were entered as she slept. And that was the untimely end of the Sultan's fate. Her body disappeared into the river, and the tears of the Madonna disappeared into the night.
What a nice, pleasant little background. You know, Charles, I can well see your point in getting rid of them.
Oh, I can't say that I'm superstitious about the curse, John. And the tears have been one of my greatest delights. Sandra?
Well, the record speaks for itself. 27 known murders, 12 by knife, 9 by gun, 6 by strangling. The rest, just miscellaneous.
Well, now, John, that you've heard, here is my final wish on the matter. I'm going to turn over these jewels to your safekeeping as sort of trustee. That paragraph in my will go into immediate effect. I want you personally to see to it that the tears of the Madonna are returned to the rightful owner. The Lama Monastery in High Tibet.
Oh, no, not for me. I thought I was your friend, Charlie. After all, who am I to fall heir to the curse of the pagan idol? I don't like shadows.
I couldn't rest easily, John, unless I know this final bequest achieved fulfillment. I must depend upon you not only as my attorney, but as my friend.
Well, Sandra, what do you say are my chances of survival?
Who knows, Mr. O'Connell? After all, Mr. Ashbrook is still among the living, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, O'Connell.
Sorry, Sandra? Oh, yes, I know. You're sorry to see the tears leave us. And I can't say that I blame you. Perhaps I should have left them to a museum where all the world can see them. Who knows whether I'm right or wrong in my decision? But if I can stop the succession of murders, if I can end the monstrous evil that has followed in the wake of the tears, then I shall be more than repaid. But right or wrong, this is my final decision.
Three days later, the final will of Charles Ashbrook was duly executed. I agreed to meet him at the bank at 2 o'clock, where he was to turn over the tears to my safekeeping. 2 o'clock came and passed, and he'd not arrived. I called his home, but there was no answer. I waited till the bank closed, and Charles Ashbrook had not come. I got into my car and listened to the radio.
We interrupt this program to bring you the following bulletin. Charles Ashbrook, retired capitalist and wealthy gem collector, was found dead in his car early this afternoon by county highway policemen. A coroner's report just released states that death was caused by a knife wound which pierced his heart. At a late hour, police have advanced no theory as to why Ashbrook was apparently murdered.
Charles Ashbrook murdered? I couldn't believe it. Had the curse of sudden death caught up to him? Was this the answer of the pagan goddess Sinkapa, or the challenge of the deadly sin of greed? I meant to find out. It was high time for action.
Part 2 of The Girl in Cell 13 in just a moment. Now back to The Girl in Cell 13 with Warren William as John Francis O'Connell.
Back in my office, I called my old friend, the police commissioner Holbrook.
Commissioner Holbrook?
Dan, this is John. John O'Connell.
Oh, hello, John. I suppose you heard the news about Ashbrook?
Yes, I just heard a bulletin on the air. You know, Dan, criminal law is a little out of my field, but I just have a hunch.
Well, I wish somebody would enlighten me. So far, we have no clues, no motive, and no suspects.
I think, Dan, I can furnish answers to all three.
To all three? Holy smokes, where are you now?
In my office. But tell me one thing, Dan.
What's that?
Were there, by chance, 2 rubies found on the body? The tears of the Madonna.
2 rubies. Tears of the Madonna. Say, was Ashbrook carrying around 2 rubies?
Yes, Dan. You see, he was to have turned them over to me at the bank this afternoon. They were to begin a return trip to a pagan goddess in Tibet.
Well, there's our motive, all right. No rubies were found, John. No tears of the Madonna. But you can bet your bottom dollar that there's going to be a lot of my tears that are going to fall if I don't get a lead and quickly. Listen, I'll send a squad car over to pick you up. There's one cruising in your district now. I'll radio him.
I'll be ready, Dan. Believe me. Well, Dan, that's the story. From here on, it's your job.
Well, it isn't hard to understand now why Ashbrook was murdered. The motive is as old as Adam, greed. I'll have Stewart and Sandra Lane picked up and brought in for questioning. No doubt they'll have the answers.
But it wasn't as simple as I'd hoped. 5 long, endless days went by, and neither Malcolm Stewart nor Sandra Lane were found. What had happened to them? And where were the tears of the Madonna? Then, about a week later... Hello?
John, is this John O'Connell?
Yes. Hello, Commissioner.
Come over right away, John. One of the suspects has been picked up. It's this Malcolm Stewart fellow. The police found him in Texas.
Then,
so far, not a glimmer. He says he ran away because he had a previous record.
Previous record, eh? I'll be right over.
I tell you, Commissioner, I did not kill Mr. Ashbrook. He knew I once served time. I told him all about it. Why should I want to kill him?
You know why better than I do, Stewart. The fact remains that you served a 5-year sentence for grand theft. Why shouldn't you want to steal now? Especially when the prize is high. Rubies. Blood-red rubies worth millions. Come in. Oh, hello, John. Come in.
Well, Malcolm.
I didn't do it, Mr. O'Connell. You've got to believe me. You've got to.
Where are the tears of the Madonna, Malcolm?
I've told the commissioner all I know. When I heard that Mr. Ashbrook had been murdered, I packed a bag and caught a plane for Boston. I had to get away. I knew they'd find out about my record.
Where's Sandra Lane? Tell me the truth. Is she dead? Did you murder her, too?
I don't know where Sandra is. She left the house at 8 o'clock in the morning. Said she was going shopping.
Did you find any discrepancies in his story, Commissioner?
None so far. I'm checking on his statements now.
I'm not lying. I'll do anything I can to help catch the murderer of Mr. Ashbrook. Believe me, Mr. O'Connell, anything.
2 days later, I was called back to Police Commissioner Holbrook's office.
It's no use, John. Fellow is innocent, at least of this murder. We checked his alibi. Everything happened as he stated.
What are you going to do with him, Dan?
We'll have to let him go. We've got a lawyer who's a writ of habeas corpus coming up in court tomorrow morning. Judge won't keep him on the evidence we've got to offer.
No, it's too bad. Any more leads on Sandra Lane?
Not a trace. She disappeared completely.
We've got to find her, no matter where she's gone, Dan. That girl had an obsession for the tears of the Madonna.
We sent out a general description to every police department in the country. She'll be found, but when? Well, your guess is as good as mine.
9 months passed, and not a clue was found as to the whereabouts of Sandra Lane. Was she dead? Had she fled the country? Even the police had placed the file among those listed as unsolved cases. Malcolm Stewart, too, had disappeared into the shadows of life. Nor were the tears of the Madonna found. They, too, had mysteriously vanished. It was a bitter ending for me. Bitter because of the murder of my friend, Charles Ashbrook, and doubly so because the pledge I'd made to return the jewels to the pagan goddess of High Tibet remained unfulfilled. Had the story ended? Well, as I sat in my apartment, late one cold February night, idly listening to the radio, I believed the tears of the Madonna were lost forever.
This is your Mistress of Ceremonies, number 34769, bringing you another of our weekly broadcasts from the Women in Gray, direct from the LaSalle State Prison for Women. Tonight, we've got some real radio talent on the loose. On the loose. Well, you know what I mean. In just a little while, you're going to hear number 6742 and her Prison Hillbillies. And wait till you hear number 4769 singing Home on the Range. She's been singing it here for over 20 years. But Women in Gray has its serious side, too. Tonight, we are opening our show with a woman in gray who writes poetry. Right out of her own head. Of course, we don't always understand it. But that doesn't mean it isn't good. She's here at the mic now, ready to emote. And she's as pretty as a picture. Here she is, the girl from cell 13.
I want to dedicate my first poem tonight to a dear friend, M.S. Oh, heart so filled with barren thoughts, dead ashes in the stagnant brook. Come not to worship at the throne, love.
That voice.
Jewels of the sky
What have I
shine
heard?
not for thee, but are buried in the sea of wantonness, beneath the wind-swept oak. Insidious panorama of the night, garden of lost paradise.
Could it be?
Filled with multi-hued rhododendrons. Thou art my vineyard.
Yes, it is. It's Sandra Lane. That poem was a tip-off. But how? Dedicated to M.S. Of course, Malcolm Stewart. Jules and Sea. No, that's not it. Jules. Buried. Of course, Jules buried in garden. Rhododendron bed beneath oak. Yes, that's it. Clever girl.
Commissioner Holbrook.
Dan, Dan, I've got a hot lead in the Ashbrook murder.
You have?
Listen, send a squad car out to Ashbrook's house immediately. Let no one escape who enters the garden. And have your men guard it with their lives, especially the flower bed.
Yes, but can't you...
But no time to talk now. I'll see you out at the Ashbrook house in 30 minutes. Rhododendrons. I see someone else listening, too. You can put down your shovel, Stewart, and raise your hands. I'm very willing to shoot you on the spot.
Okay, my hands are up, Mr. O'Connell. I've lost, I see. But it was worth it. When you've got a stake of millions, what's a life or two when it's the tears of the Madonna you're after?
Well, John, I see you bagged your bird.
And a good one, too, Commissioner. The other half of the team is quite safe in cell 13, the LaSalle State Prison for Women. We'll get her later. But for now, take over the prisoner and charge him with aiding and abetting in the murder of Charles Ashbrook.
Warren William will be back in just a moment to tell you the rest of the story of The Girl in Cell 13. But first, here is a brief message from your announcer. And here again is Warren William as John Francis O'Connell.
Murder will out is not an idle phrase. But this diabolical plot came within a hair's breadth of success. Sandra Lane and Malcolm Stewart entered into this conspiracy to steal the rubies long before Charles Ashbrook decided to send them back to Tibet. But his decision crystallized their mad plan. It made murder necessary. The night after I left the Ashbrook home, Sandra and Stewart met secretly.
You heard nothing. The tears are going to be turned over to Mr. O'Connell.
Yes, I know. We must act at once. But what can we do?
Leave that to me. I want you to know nothing. And if the police catch you, you can tell nothing.
You must think me a weakling.
What you don't know, you can't tell.
But you, where are you going? I want the police catch you, too, especially if
Don't worry, I've thought it all out long ago. The police won't catch me now.
But if we're separated, Sandra, how will we
It may be months, Malcolm, but you'll hear from me.
But how, Sandra? How will I ever know where you...
Listen to me. There's a radio program called Women in Gray.
Women in Gray? I don't understand.
Never miss it, Malcolm. Never miss it. And you'll hear from me.
And when I do, then we meet...
In Buenos Aires, Malcolm. In Buenos Aires. Just as we've always planned.
We know now that Sandra Lane rode into the city with her employer, stabbed him to death, and escaped with the tears of the Madonna. She hurried back to the Ashbrook home and buried the jewels in the flower garden. She fled the city and changed the color of her hair, and under an assumed name, deliberately committed a crime that netted her a short sentence in the state prison. She reasoned rightly that she could best disappear in prison, the last place anyone would look for her. She knew, too, that she could ultimately reach Malcolm Stewart through Women in Gray, and their reward, life sentences for both of them. But what happened to the tears of the Madonna? Well, they are again the eyes of the goddess Tsing-Ka-Pa in the temple in High Tibet, and may the curse of death that followed in their wake be forever buried in the stillness of forgetfulness. Next week, I'm going to tell you the story about a playwright who never set Broadway on fire because his plays were 50 years ahead of time. But his son, who inherited the trunk full of manuscripts, went on in his father's footsteps. He thought conditions warranted a change in modern thought. What happened to him and his father's old trunk full of manuscripts makes one of the most refreshing and modern stories that it has ever been my pleasure to tell. We call this unusual story So Deep the Stream. This is Warren Williams, inviting you to listen again next week.